Good evening, all. It is I, your one and not so only familiar host for the evening, the BigFatCelestial, and tonight, as we were in episode 1, we are joined by.
Nibiru on Twitch.
Off Trader on YouTube.
It's very impressive you two didn't speak over each other without any coordination. Well done. I'm so proud of yous.
Mate, we've done one episode, we're on point now.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
You know, we are now skilled professional podcasters.
Exactly.
How
We're
is
in
everyone
sync
doing?
already. I'm doing pretty good so far. I had a great stream earlier, and now I'm happy to talk to you two beautiful men.
Charmer.
So yeah, I'm actually pretty stoked for tonight's episode as well.
Yeah. I've been just busy with the kids and stuff and just fiddling a bit. That's about it. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I think we're all just sort of sitting in that little bit of time now where it's like we're almost on the cusp of like most of our normal activities resuming, but not quite there. You know, they're coming in bit by bit, which, funnily enough, works as a brilliant segue into sort of our conversations and talking points for today, which is generally more of a, you know, laid back stream, just chatting about some of the stories we have, some of the things we enjoy, some of the things we're maybe looking forward to about returning to paper play, or in the case of dear sweet Nibiru, actually trying paper play. Because even I forgot that when I was like, you know, when we were going over like some of the questions and so on that we'd go to it. Oh, hang on. Quench. Oh, damn. That is a fruity white wine. I mean, a hardened whiskey.
Okay.
But yeah, it was, you've never actually gone to, or you have very little experience with paper locals or any form of like regional play or anything like that, do you?
Exactly. Like I think I visited a store once or twice in my life in the 16 years I've been playing, but that's about it. I think the first time I got scammed because I'm a dumbass, and the second time I just lost against Shadow when they freshly released. That's the two experiences I had so far.
Not very good, is it? But I don't think the Nibiru's going to get the full experience because the hygiene rules have changed since before we started. So he's not getting the full, the full aroma, shall we say? The correct term.
The sensation.
Get the sensation. He'll be missing out on.
I know it's as
So-
much of a dead meme at this stage, along with like pot of greed and oh, what's it doing? All these things, which you're like, okay, we've heard it.
Wait, what does it do?
But, well, thank you for watching the podcast. This was, but I remember when that first came into effect, and it was, you know, everyone's in the comic shops. And it's like, imagine being so bad, having such a horrific stereotype that not only is it just like catering to that, but it's like, well, actually, no, we have to change the rules to make an stunkin'.
The thing I used to love was see when the rules came in and well it was announced. See the people that you would suspect to be the people. They were the ones that were moaning about it the most, saying nobody smells. I'm sitting going, that's
If it's not you, and it's definitely not me.
no point.
It's like, oh, look at the camera sort of meme. It's like that. What is it? It's like 1 and 2 people have a finger up their ass right now. I don't have a finger up my ass.
Do you?
This went off topic so fast.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we all know this anyway. And if we're playing into this dead meme anyway, you know, we all know it's the magic, guys.
Yeah, they have a magic aroma.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I'm sure that there was a whole thing about it. And I remember at the time, I think it was actually Farfa shared something on Facebook or Twitter. I have no idea if it was completely genuine, but I had like a similar experience that I'll talk on, but it was like apparently someone like messed themselves, like, you know, what am I for? Apparently someone pissed themselves at a table to try and make their opponent scoop.
What?
Now, I'm sure at that stage, it has to be like an urban myth. There's no way someone thought, yeah, don't know if I'm looking forward to this matchup. That's quite a good opponent. Well, it's like you sit down and your opponent extends hands like, hey, let's have a good game. And like, I can't talk right now. I'm making piss.
Dude, it's like you're mid-combo and your opponent just starts, like, his face starts getting red and, just shits himself on purpose.
But, like, again,
My shoes getting wet. Why are they on?
I have no idea if it's a myth, and I really hope it is.
Yeah.
But, I'm I mean, it's one way to potentially get a game, but I remember there was a picture, and I think I still have it saved on my phone because it's the funniest thing. It's like the guy's like holding up his mat, completely soaked all down the front. It's like, what would the judges do if I pissed myself?
Get a power bonus.
But I'm not going to go into any specific store names, but a lot of people who know me, who might in person and are watching this, Darth, you also probably know, there's a place we used to go that changed, and it was an underground place that had no ventilation or anything, and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like my missus just straight up wouldn't go into this area, and it used to be bad. I don't go there anymore, nor will I go back.
Yeah.
But that was
no. It was like, I don't even know, like the stench and the warmth that could be generated in there could like, you could like actually cook totties in it, and it just would be the best place, man. It's not a place that I tend to go all that much, but I do sometimes just to meet up and with some friends that are nearby.
I suppose it's one of those things. Oh, sorry.
No, I want to say that just sounds horrible, like with the no ventilation thing and whatever. Like, just thinking about it, like a lot of people sitting in a room, and heat will rise, and then you start sweating, and then everyone sweats, and then
yeah.
Not good.
This place that we're talking about, that was the first place that I really...
Guys, sorry to interrupt. Annie, thank you for the host of 102 viewers. To
what?
all of you watching, welcome to the Misplay podcast. If you have never been acquainted with us before, I'm the BigFatCelestial. We'll reconduct our introductions due to this surprise.
Holy shit.
Yeah, huge, man. I'm Darth Trader from YouTube as well, so I'll just announce myself.
And then I'm Nibiru on Twitch. That's it.
A way to keep up the energy, guys. So if you're just joining us now, which apparently a fair few of you
nervous
are.
Now, okay? Let us be.
Exactly. Our bottles crashed when we heard 100, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just having sort of a general discussion stream, which currently has made its way to the matters of the rules within Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually stating about personal hygiene. So when we're when we're saying about, we're really excited to return to paper play, and there's all these really great things we get to look forward to. I don't know if that's so much. I don't know if that's going to be one of them. We were meant to build this like a shit sandwich where it's meant to be like something good. Now we'll talk about the things that are something bad. And now it's back to the good stuff. I think we've led in with the wrong point here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but as I was saying, this place was the first place that I really went to that had Yu-Gi-Oh! Events and stuff like that. And it really put me off. And I ended up doing a trade with one other person, and I thought, it's all going to be like this, all secluded and no windows and stuff. And I went to one locals that had a window, and it changed my life. That was it. I went, this is my locals, man. I'm staying here. That's what that place was like.
You heard it here first. How to pick a locals? Search one with a window, and you're good.
Windows and a door with ventilation.
But the very first time I actually ever appeared at locals, so obviously I grew up in the Highlands, and I've said a couple of times about how when I was growing up, like I've always played Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout my life in terms of like collecting very casually, but I had no concept of, the meta or even archetypes and themes. I had just the most loose understanding because I never watched anything past GX either because I didn't have cable or Sky or whatever you want to call it. So I only had like 4 channels. So I had a deck when I lived up north called Red Nova Turbo, and this was just before I moved away from the Highlands. And Red Nova Turbo was summon Red Nova Dragon, the Synchro 12, in approximately 4 to 5 turns if things went well. That was enough for me to call it Red Nova Turbo. So I moved to the I moved from the Highlands into the central belt of Scotland. And I remember the locals that I went to had actually been on the news as like a new upcoming game store. So I ended up going along after getting Duel Links, actually. And I brought along this deck. And I used to have it in like the Game Boy Advanced, how they had like a metal container? I had them like in one of those.
Oh no.
So I like rocked up to this locals. And the first format I came into was Zoo format, just before Maximum Crisis came out. Mm-hmm. So my mates and I went from having this sort of bad goat format where it was like, some of them played Sakaretsu, there was Mirror Force. 2 of us didn't use the ban list. One of the guys didn't because it's not an actual tournament, which I guess was true. But Nibiru, I know that format was slightly before your time, you youngin'. But Darth, I'm sure you remember all too well what the peak, the pinnacle.
Yeah, like around about that time, I just got in. So it was when I can't remember the set. It was the one that had Dark Magical Circle in it. That was the set that really got me back because I love Dark Magician. Like that was my main deck, so that's what I decided I was going to pick up. And I went to locals with Zoo format, and I've got a half-built Dark Magician deck with a skilled magician. So I'm working with tokens, and they're going XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. I'm going, what's an XYZ? That's the extent of it. It wasn't very good, and this guy actually had to sit and explain Yu-Gi-Oh to me, and I went, what? So I kind of just like normal summon like a Dark Magician. He's like, no, you need to do this. They're like, don't know.
You made a resolute stance right there. Oh, just stick with flip purple card up.
Yeah, see, so that was it, mate. That's what got me into the purple cards. That's it.
The very first deck I built practically was so it was actually technically Dark Magician. I can't remember how I ended up with more of those cards first, but I didn't have like any of the important cards like Navigation and so on. It was just like Rod and Illusion and so on. But I had a single copy of the Cyber Dragon structure deck, and I was told like this is probably the best thing you've got as a start. So that was what I started initially building my deck up and around, and here I am still playing that deck years later. But I was a bit daft. I was a little bit I wasn't full as retraction. I wasn't quite as self-aware then as I am now. Make of that what you will. But I used to get called Kaiba at my locals, if not Jamie Fee Paisley.
Well played, Dark Magician.
But it was no, that wasn't like the main part of the story because I did play Blue Eyes at some point around that time as well. But I had, like the have you ever seen the cases that you bring music equipment and stuff in? It's like
the
metal cases. Yep. So I at that time had a very small collection. So I had one of these metal briefcase things, and I had like all my tins. And my mat, it perfectly fit in. It was like, very satisfying. But I would come into locals every day, drop my metal thing on the desk, undo the clasps, and retrieve deck box. I was like, yes, now we're good to go.
Fitting nickname, yeah.
Maybe that's how we never talked that much beforehand. You and your big metal case.
My big metal case. But the thing that made it even worse is because at that time I still didn't quite understand about like the competitiveness and people taking it a bit more seriously, and I still saw it as very much a hobby thing. I had and still have one of like the OG Battle City dual discs, and one day I thought it'd be really funny to bring this in and use as my mat for locals. Now bear in mind this was a good few years, well actually I say a good few years ago, it was about 4.5 years ago. So, and there's no escaping that I was still old enough to recognize cringe and did not. Or didn't care. One of the two.
Those discs are huge, man.
Aye. But
See,
the very first
Nibiru's
game I ever
goal.
won in locals was using it.
Oh, that's the one I've got down as well.
Let's just make this a little bit more optimal
Oh
here.
my gosh.
Put
That's
on
it.
the
Next
duel.
week we're having a duel.
There we go. I think we can duel now, right?
Yeah, 100%. Right, so now you need to keep that on the full stream.
Yeah, that's it. If you take that off, what do we do?
No, I will keep it on for the entire stream now. I don't care.
If you take it off, then we'll make sure that your next locals is flooded exclusively with Mystic Mind players, and people also maining Dimension Shifter every time you're playing Lightsworn.
Yeah, and who have deodorant on the ban list. They kind of players.
I will better not take this off. Let's rest my arm on the table because it's getting heavy here.
Keep those hands where we can see them, right?
So,
oh god,
Darth,
so clunky to move around.
had you actually? So you were saying that you sort of got more into the game with the Dark Magician deck, which I think was that the Dark Illusion? What was that set called?
Yeah,
it was TDIL, I think was the code.
TDIL was the code for it because I've still got the original navigations, the original circles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the deck that really got me back into the game. Then I started getting a wee bit more competitive. Like zombie swarms. Like that deck is still top tier for me. It's still my most favorite deck. Grass at 1. I only played it with grass at 1, and that's the impact it had on me. Snow at 3. Snow is.
I think grass was still at 3. I can't actually remember. I know that Maxi was still around when I started. I think grass
Maxi
was
was
at
at 1.
3. What was that? Sorry.
I said when I was playing, like getting it competitive, because obviously the locals I was at wasn't very competitive. It was, to be honest, it was more trap decks that everybody was playing, and then like building their wee decks up and whatever, because it was at like a very small locals, and they just kind of started doing Yu-Gi-Oh again. So it wasn't very competitive. It wasn't until like I moved to other locals that I noticed there's a scene. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody's playing like Zoo and stuff like that, and I went right, okay. My first regionals, I went with Dark Magician and got top 32 with it, and this was the first time that I actually seen like a meta.
I would like to point out to all watching, top 32 at your first regionals might sound okay when you until you realise that all the Scottish regionals are about 28 people.
It's not too bad. But remember, do you remember the Worlds player, JY Sharif?
Oh, hang on.
Played Zombie Fund.
I recognise the name. I reckon.
Well,
yeah.
He was probably the best player I've ever seen play, like face to face against me. And he went right. He was expecting that he beat me 2-0, right? And he was expecting like a meta deck. I don't know what he was expecting. And he just went, I wasn't expecting you to play Dark Magician. So I went, how? He went, because you just looked pure competitive. And I went, oh no, I'm not competitive. No. I'm on a budget, man. My wife doesn't let me spend any more. No. I've bought the budget that I want, so I can pick up whatever I want. So, but that was my first regionals.
My very first regionals, I played, I think it was Invoked Cyber Dragons, and I think this was back when Farfa was still Glasgow YGO, and somehow, now it's worth saying, when I say Invoked Cyber Dragons, I was playing things like Cyber Dragons Y and so on. This was a bad list, and like I bet a Paleo player, an Infernoid Zoo player, a Zoo player, and a Draco player, and somehow made my way into round 5 XO. I was like, well, what the hell, how have I done that? Pure luck, which is an important fact to remember. Because at round 5, I made my way onto the feature stream, which lasted 7 minutes. I went onto the feature stream with the Cyber Dragons, and my opponent drew Imperial Order both times, and my hand was always like, it was Cyber Dragons Y and 4 spell cards at one point. I can't remember the other hand. And I remember after the fact getting sent screenshots of the featured duel because it had been like pretty big on YouTube or whatever, or Twitch, wherever it had been streamed. And it was like all the comments like, "How is this guy even excellent? Oh, how is this guy?" Blah blah. I was like, "Oh hell." It was not a good first feature experience.
Think. Do we count the next extravaganza? Because that's the only thing I can talk about.
Yeah,
you can go. It's a major event. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the only thing I ever played because I returned to competitive while Corona was a thing. Actually, I went to locals once before it, but just watched my friend play because I didn't have cards. That was
just
a fun
lurking over the
experience.
table. What's that pendulum card do?
I think one guy gifted me a card, and I don't know if it's just for me to go away or if it's just a nice person. I don't know. Like, it's just, here, take this and go away, please.
It's called you've got to win your next duel with. That's the pure anime style. That was.
It was a bit awkward because the guy brought me and his girlfriend with him, and I'm like, okay, I'm here now. Sure. I just have to like sit here now. It doesn't matter. All right. So I only play one major. Well, like my extravaganza was the only event I played, I guess. Bigger one. And I think my first experience in my first match, I played against a Cello player who didn't know what Salomon Grade does. That was very funny. Yeah. So guy plays and goes up to access code, right? And as soon as he plays on access code, he doesn't know what access code does. So I explained to him what access code does. He proceeds to misunderstand me 3 times, then understands what it does finally, uses this effect and just kills me with it twice. I love it. So I had to explain to my opponent how his deck and like his cards work, sort of, because he couldn't understand the text on access code, and it was like, okay, here's how it works. And yeah, I lost the match because of it.
Help your opponent, mate. That's all right. We're not here for the wins. We're only here for the experience.
Like, I don't know. Like, for me, it was kind of ironic. I basically beat myself with that.
Exactly.
I wanted to
you can't lose unless you beat yourself. That's it.
Exactly. So yeah, I just wanted to be a fair player, and if they don't know or they don't have experience with the deck, I guess I rather say something.
Yeah.
Than yeah. I forgot. The guy was also not very familiar with the Yu-Gi-Oh rules in general. He just looked at his deck without searching or anything. He just looked at resources, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm looking at my resources. I'm like, you're not allowed to do that. And he was like, wait, you're not? And just puts it back. And I'm like, wait a minute.
I'll put it back. Oh, that one will go to the top. That one of the ones.
It was so chaotic.
So I don't know how the perfect card got there, Your Honor. Unironically referring to you, Judge, Your Honor.
That was so chaotic. Luckily, a judge was in there while he was doing that, so he got a warning, which I find very interesting that he didn't get anything more than that. But like, it was the head judge, so I didn't argue.
When I first got into the game, as I've sort of clearly conveyed at this point, I had no idea what I was doing. I had a horrific grasp of the game, but I had all my cards. But yeah, got all of the sirens, the Paisley anthem. So I kept all my cards in bulk because, again, growing up in the Highlands, I didn't even know its sleeves were as bad as that sounds. So all my cards were packed loose. And I remember I had no idea about the value and so on of cards. It was always trade for trade in terms of, I want this off you, I want this off you. So I probably traded things to my mates up in the Highlands worth enormous amounts that I'll never remember or know. But one card I knew had money was I had a first edition secret rare Dark Armed Dragon, and the only reason I knew that was money, I can't remember the name of the set it was from, but it was like the OG one, is at the time I got it, my folks had bought me like one of the Yu-Gi-Oh magazines, which they used to do at the time, which had like the prices of cards in them.
Dude, I miss those.
So in that magazine, it had like the price of that card. I was like, wow, that's really expensive. It was always like, right, look after that. So it was kept safe. So that was how I looked after my cards, was they just kept in the tin. So when I moved to the Central Belt, I went into the locals and I would buy a couple packs. I went into the store maybe 2 or 3 times before I actually went to one of the locals and people like sat me down and played with me. So I opened a few packs and I didn't realize, but I'd pulled something quite good at the time anyway. Well, still good now. So I sat down at like the first time I actually stayed in the shop. A few guys are going through my tins and they pull out like a Zodiac Barrage, which at the time was like 60 quid, and it had just been like pushed into the the bulk. It wasn't damaged or anything, it was still absolutely fine, but they're all having like a mini panic attack when they find the super valuable card. And I remember a bunch of them trading off of me. But what ended up happening, there was one person who was trading a few things off of me and very quickly realized I didn't know the value of these cards. So I'd be like, oh, that's cool anime card or whatever it was, because that was the only metric I had. I didn't know what cards were good. I didn't know what cards I wanted. So I just figured, hey, I like that card. I'll go for that because that's all I know. So I'm like trading away all of these cards. And again, I know after the fact that I lost a good amount of money, but I've never tried to find out exactly how much. I don't want to be confronted with it. But when it got to like the Barrage, a few of the guys in the store were like, no. And they saw what was going on. They're like, hey, you should probably know this. This is worth quite a lot. The card you're about to trade it for is not.
Well, I was just about to say, sorry. It's funny that you're talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh magazine. I was in my mum's house and we were clearing out like my old room, and I found a Yu-Gi-Oh magazine. Like, and it had all the prices and stuff in it. It was the LOB one, and it was like LOB first edition Blue Eyes for £30. And I'm sitting going, I wish I picked up a couple back then. Like that, I was sitting reading it. It had like Yu-Gi-Oh magnets and stuff like that, and that's why I was laughing that you've just brought that up.
But now that logic's applied to everything. Anytime a new card game comes out, it's especially from like all this lockdown madness stuff. All like the early draft of something gets completely bought out because one day the cards will spike up in value. It doesn't always work, because I remember the Transformers TCG came out and that was getting bought out everywhere. And
how do you remember that?
It's the same way Digimon, you know. Everybody's buying Digimon like it's like there's no tomorrow. It's like the prices of some of them are ridiculous. So I think that somebody had done a look. See a box with the worst pulls you can possibly get. You're still making £35 profit. That's how much they're like keeping the now. So if you're looking to get a first edition set, the now Digimon might be a wee one to pick up.
I mean, Digimon is also very hyped in general as a play TCG. So it's a very promising market because the TCG is actually fun to play and a lot of people pick it up. So it's like Yu-Gi-Oh was or Pokemon was, where it's actually, a legit TCG where, I mean, most TCG is legit, but like they have a good, unique system that makes it fun to play and make people want to pick it up. Meaning that could actually be one day at the same level as Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! If they continue this path, that's the main part. If they don't give up, if they don't fuck up, they have a good road ahead of them.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't go like Dragon Ball Z, because that was peak hype, and then I don't know anybody that plays it now. It's just one of those ones.
No, Dragon Ball definitely still has a community, but I played it for like the first few releases up to Tournament of Power. And then just stopped because my work schedule didn't allow me the time for it. And anyone that knows of the Dragon Ball TCG now might be able to feel the sting of this. So the way that Dragon Ball sets used to work, I'm not so sure about now, is you'd get one secret a set. And they were pretty hard to get, so they were typically about £200 to £300. So the first one was like, it was either Vegeta or Gogeta. And I had that one. And then I pulled 2 of the Super Saiyan 4 secret from set 2, and then set 3 came around, which was Tournament of Power, and it was Mastered Ultra Instinct. It was super hard to get. I think it was even rarer, and at the time it was like massive. It was like 300 odd quid, and I managed to get one, and I was feeling very, very chuffed, and I kept it for ages, using it as a field center. But then for whatever reason, I think I just needed a bit of cash, and I was like, you know what, the novelty's worn off, and I'll shift it. And I shifted it for like 300, 350. And I then thought nothing else of it, because I didn't keep up to date with the Dragon Ball game at all until like a few months ago. And people were saying, man, those damn Tournament of Power cards, even like the common foils, can be worth huge amounts, because individual packs of Tournament of Power started selling apparently for like 20, 30 quid. I was like, you what? And
Aye.
that Goku secret, I think, went up to being like £3,000, £4,000, £5,000. It
Fuck
is.
that, man.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it went up to a few thousand at the very least. And I learned that recently. It was that kind of. There has never been anything. I know it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh related so much, but there has never been any card I have owned that I have like shifted and lost so much on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
No, the thing.
Only thing. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I never took up the Dragon Ball Z. For some reason, I just found it too complicated, like for me to wrap my head around. So I never bought any cards, nothing. But I was going through tins the other day looking for Allied Justice Hollow ones, and I ended up finding a Dragon Ball Z tin, like just full of Dragon Ball cards. I'm sitting going, "What the fuck did I get these for?" Like I've just acquired Dragon Ball cards for somewhere, and I have no clue where. A relevant story, but on you go.
No. I think the only time I really lost money, I lost it. I never gained anything of the cards, but so at the time I was pretty young still, and we play like playground Yu-Gi-Oh, where you just like at school. Actually, we played at school.
Leaves cards straight on the gravel.
Oh yeah, that I've got a pretty horrific. Neb, I think I've told you the story before, but I've got a really horrific playground story. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, like in the beginnings of my Yu-Gi-Oh experience, not that far back actually. It's like 5th, 6th grade or whatever. We used to. I had sleeves, by the way, so don't panic if I tell this story. So yeah, we used to play, and I played an Exodia deck back in the day. I played Exodia Stun because I'm a dick. So yeah, my Exodia got stolen one day, and that Exodia was a full LOB first ed Exodia set, and I think that is the biggest amount of money I've ever lost in my life, because if you look at the first eds right now, I think it's like multiple hundreds per piece, and I had all 5. I got them gifted back in the day from someone who quit Yu-Gi-Oh, and he gave me and my friend like a huge collection of cards, and one of them was that, and oof, that hurts to this day, by the way.
Well, at least you've got a replacement. Do you know what I mean? But you're not making the money back.
No, not making that
when
back.
I say about like playground Yu-Gi-Oh, I grew up in the Highlands, which for those not in the know isn't a very big or populated area. So my primary school, elementary, if you're American, I'm not sure anywhere else. So the first sort of 7 years of education, so when you're 5 years old onwards, 7 years sort of till you're 12, 13. When I was in primary school, there was only 30 people in those 7-year groups. So it was a tiny, tiny school. But I had the first edition, and I can still verified this much to my pain a couple of years ago. And I had the first edition Kaiba structure deck because my folks knew I loved the show, and it was still fairly accessible fairly accessible, maybe not so much. I think it was actually someone in my family. Anyway, I had this card, and I loved it. I absolutely loved this Blue Eyes card. And I remember that, now you've got to remember, I don't know what sleeves were, didn't go to any game shops, didn't know what any of that was. And my folks knew, this is a very important card to Jamie. You'll never want anything bad to happen to it. So some people already might know this story in my chat and so on, but to keep that card safe, my folks laminated that card. First edition Blue Eyes.
Well, do you know what? I remember you telling me that story, and I thought, you know that you can get, see if you've laminated something, you can put it through a delaminator to take it apart.
So what follows is there was a guy in my primary school who wanted to borrow the card to show someone or something. I can't remember why they had a temporary possession of my card, but anyway, they had the Blue Eyes for a couple of days, and they were going to give it back to me at the end of the week. and they returned it to me, and they said, "Oh, by the way, I found like the laminate on it really annoying." So they had peeled the laminate off, so the card was completely ruined, but the front was still like pretty much visible because it was all completely sealed. It was just the back of it was all torn and white, and ripped from the lamination, and the card itself, that laminated front, is still somewhere at my folks' house, which, like I said, I found it a while back after knowing, about the value of those cards and so on now. So I'll have to dig it out sometime, because I think it'd be really funny to show on stream. But
it should be in your background. It should be right there.
Yeah,
I wanted to say the exact same thing. Like, just hang it up.
That should be your giant card.
Once I can find it, because I know, like, my folks moved not long after I did, so everything's like poof. But it is somewhere. So I'll need to find it and bring it onto the stream and put it on the background or something. It brings me so much pain.
Oh man, honestly, my toes were curling just listening to that. The fact that you just peeled it, I swear to God. You ever see, like, when you're watching like a comedy thing or whatever, and you see a guy getting booted in the nuts, and you feel the pain? That's what that was for me, though.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even if you look at the chat right now for a second, like, you see the emotes, the crying emotes and whatever, like, everyone feels the pain right now.
There are some things in life, there's a tier list of the most painful things, and for some people, it's like, you've got hitting your toe off the edge of a table. That's pretty sore. Having your hand mounted to a desk and a nail smashed under your fingernail, that's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as my story there.
Oh. Getting pulled apart. No.
The ruination of such a beautiful card is
sorry, the worse. Ruination, did you just say?
No, that's definitely not the League of Legends reference.
Jeez. So, Nibiru, as a unanointed... Yeah, no, I think that's vaguely correct. As a newcomer to the world of paper play and so on, what are the things that you are looking forward to? The things you've never experienced, the things you've only heard about.
I think the main part that I'm happy about is in-person trading. Like, actually, like, getting rid of my cards without having to ship them to whatever country wants them or whatever. Like, just actual in-person trading, going to a local, saying, yo, this is my trade binder, what do you want? Cool, what do you give me for that? That is one thing I want.
But this shows you how naive you are, Nibiru. Because anyone who's actually ever been to a real locals knows someone will come up to you with 3 binders, and they're gonna say, pick out the cards you want and so on, and you'll go through and you'll set aside like 4 or 5 cards, and then they'll put your binder down and they'll go, oh, sorry, that's not for trade, that's not for trade, that's not for trade, I'm keeping that for my mate. That's all. IRL trading doesn't exist. It's a fucking myth. IRL trading exclusively boils down to people saying, oh, it's not for trade, oh, I better put that one upside down, oh, that's my display page.
the infamous display page, obviously, just showing off the best cards. But yeah, no, I'm not trading any of these.
Darth Trader, you must have a weigh-in on this.
Yeah, honestly, man. See, have you seen the Transformer movie? The one, the Knights one. I think it was the last one. And you see the big trading, the guy with the big trade bag and all that. That's me, man. I walk about with 7 binders. That's what I walk about with. And I was in a
certified
locals.
Forklift driver.
Yeah, I was in a locals not that long ago. My actual locals, and the owner said he was weighing packages to like send them away and stuff. And he went, "I've always wanted to do this. Give me your bag. I want to weigh it." I just filled it all up, so there wasn't a missing pages or nothing. The bag weighed 4 stone. So I don't know if you know that in kilograms and shit, but it's quite heavy.
Hang on,
but
I'll find out.
And my display page is just 1 card, and it's Attack of the Black Monster. It was just a fake card, and it's just so funny. I love it.
That's 25 kilograms.
25 kilograms, and for every American listening, that is 56 pounds.
So, for the record, because again, when I grew up in the north, you would do a lot of hill walking and so on. and we do something. I don't know if you'd have ever had this, Darth, but it's called like your Duke of Edinburgh Award, and you'll do like expeditions and hikes and so on. And one of them's a 3-day expedition. And when you do your 3-day expedition, you have a bag that has your tent, your sleeping roll, your food, all your necessities and so on. That bag typically weighs 10 to 12 kilograms. And that's like your big, full, and that's everything. That's your living conditions.
Yeah, man, that's the numbers. Get some binders in that.
Living conditions, and there's still room for binders, so traders just packing them in.
Darth Trader, you must have like the core strength of an inner city crane.
No, we really don't. That's why I
just have the weight of one.
So you bend down to pick up like a pencil, and you end up taking the next 3 layers of floor with you.
I wish. That's why I'm Darth Trader, because see, after I've walked for about 10 minutes with this bag, I'm always wheezing, so that's the reason why.
Yeah, it's like in the Star Wars lore how the suit is purposefully designed to cause pain and discomfort. It's like the same thing for you. You you carry the burden of your trades just to make you that much of a better trader, because you're incentivized to get rid of as much as possible.
Yeah, I always visualize like Goku taking off his weighted wristbands and shit, and that's just me buying my trades. That's just one thing I can think of.
It's like all your sleeves are lead lined. Your deck weighs about as much as a small car.
That's why the desk is always bent. That's what it is.
just playing on concrete blocks.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to like really getting back to it, and as Nib was saying about the trading and stuff, because do you use card market and stuff now?
Yes.
Because obviously in the UK we were not really using card market because of the EU politics.
So
stuff.
The way that things always seem to go is it's like, well, I'm pricing my cards, I'm going to use eBay. I'm pricing yours, I'm using card market. What do you mean delivery and tax? No, I'm just using card market. That's another thing to look forward to Nibiru. It is the whole, I know I think the bigger meme in America is like Trolling Toad, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the price differences between the few websites and going like, I'm using card market, but I mean that's cheaper on the other side, so no.
Yeah, I have a mate, Jack, and he won't mind me telling this story. He once done a trade with a boy, and the boy was really annoying him. Like, it was just one of the ones, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want this. And he ended up just getting that pissed off. He changed the currency of the cards into yen because he knew in the OCG it's cheaper. So he's done a trade in yen. And honestly, it was so funny, man.
So what you're telling us is, like although frustrated, your friend is technically a liar and a thief.
Yeah, he knows that. But he just sat.
He's just a regular day, normal. I can't remember the name.
The boy just turned around and he went, "What currency is that? Because I've never seen a Y for a pound sign." And he went, "Oh no, it's yen. It's the best currency. It's the currency that the future. So everyone should be trading on yen." So that's one of the things you need to look.
Do you know what the other thing as well is though? Is where it's like I kind of want this card, but I don't need it. So I'm just valuing it at like this much less because it's not that much important. It's like, girl.
Yeah. The thing I hate is like, see people that are adamant that you should use card market, because I have not got the time to sit and count up pennies for like a 2 pence card, a 3 pence card, stuff like that. I just go to eBay because it's a round number. It's a pound. You're not really losing all that much.
Yeah, whenever a card like says 99p on eBay, because like the thing is, it literally is. If it's 99p, then it's probably 99p. If it's £1.05, then it's typically like a pound or something like that.
I'm not going to lose sleep at a penny.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I'm a really lazy trader. You know, a lot of the time, like I get a lot of good mates rates from folk because a lot of the time they'll be like, hey, you know. I'd like this card, and I have a tendency to I need this card and I'll just buy it, and because I don't buy or pick up too many new decks, I'm a pain in the ass to trade with because I only ever really seek rarity bumps, and when you're in the same pool of people for locals, you're gonna get everything off of them that you need fairly quickly. So typically people will come up to me, and as long as I'm like sort of palsy with them, it's like, oh yeah, this card's like £5-6. Just like, just have it. I'll get something off you another time. And I do that a lot, and I end up giving away a huge amount. But the big, as much as IRL trading is stressful in and of itself, I have accumulated a lot of cards with a decent amount of value. But I have not I've not traded any of them because I can't stand working through the trading pages. Not because there's any problem with the system, or I'm not going to get into anything with the people or anything like that. I'm just lazy. I'm fat for a reason. It's like a 10-minute walk to the post office. No. I just have to hope the card doesn't lose value. Like when I had a Starlight Lightning Storm that went up to £1,000 for about 2 weeks and then went...
I had a place that the Starlight Lightning Storms and Starlight Appaloosa as well. And I sold the four of them. It was like 1,700 I sold them for. When I seen it went up and down, and I went... It was the highest that I could get at the time, and I'm sitting going, there's no point in grieving or losing a wee bit.
Yeah, Palooza alone is almost that much now.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I tend not to look because I just get bad feelings. But as you were saying about like being like a lazy trader and stuff like that, I'm the total opposite. Like I go for trades. Like I enjoy it. See the haggle.
Yeah, you're the embodiment of like two people are just sitting down, relaxing, having a good time. Hey, you want to play a game? Yeah. And you T-pose over, drop your 40-kilogram binder, break both of their legs, and so, show me what you've got now!
Exactly. It's like
your binder disappoints me, and then you just hover away onto your next victim.
I've actually been... I went to a tournament. I was going to do a tournament, and ended up doing trades of full hang. And they said that's the last round. And I went, I've not even fucking played yet. I paid in and everything, and never played a game. That's how bad it was.
Oh man,
missing an entire tournament just because of trades. That is something.
It was just one person after the other, and I'm like, oh well, I'm going to make some money now, so might as well.
Playing's overrated. Yeah, I mean, you made your money probably back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So. I remember, I think it was the Birmingham Nationals here in the UK. I went to that one. That was my second Nats, and I had, I think I was like just shy of top 124 or whatever it was, 128.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm going to shift a bunch of these cards because I think it was like just on the heels of an upcoming ban list or something like that. So I went over to the vendors and I shifted like a lot of my more expensive stuff. And then there's one guy that's there. It's like, hey, can I see the binder? And he's like the bulk buyer sort of guy. And the value of my binder at this stage, I think, was probably still like 250, 300 quid if you sold everything at its price. Mm-hmm. So, if you would expect a vendor to maybe be like 170 or something like that, because, it's about making money. People have their problems with vendor prices, but, vendors are in it for making money, not backpack vendors. Darth like, money's money. As long as people are happy, it is what it is. But I give the guy my binder and he goes through it all and he says, I'll give you 15. I'm like, oh, what for? And he just like gestures lightly at the binder. The lot. It's like, well, that's a good representation of vendor pricing.
Yeah, man. Any a card. That's it. It's bulk buying.
But yeah, that's I'm at the stage where because I'm falling over myself with the decks I play, eventually when I fall in love with something enough, I'll get it max rarity. And I had Mermail for a long time, but that's not a cheap deck to get max rarity. And I got really lucky. So I can't remember if I told the story. But just before COVID, I finally got my break with regionals and I topped 3 back to back. And at the last one, I went with a mate of mine called Sean. And Sean and I made a bet because he was playing Heroes and I was playing Mermail. And again, some people might know the story, some people might not. And I say to Sean, or we make this bet, which is if either of us tops, I have to get him an Ulti Stratos, or he has to get me an Ulti Dragoon, because it was far more likely he would top than I would. However, if either of us won, it had to be a playset. Now, Sean had never been to a regional before, and Sean was pretty good, but also prone to very heavy mistakes. Sean, if you're watching this, you know. You're good, but you know.
We all have that mate, John. We all have that mate, John. My mate, John, and see when he fucks up, we all call it he's pulling a Sean, so that can be the new theme for your Sean pal.
So we go into this regional, and I absolutely go ham with Mermail. I lose one game the entire day, and I'm looking around for Sean in the later rounds, and I see him on table 1. Oh ho. And I'm not going to get into it because I'm not going to discredit his win. Because some stuff happened with like deck lists and people getting game losses and so on that might have changed things. But I went over and Sean had won. The one person who beat me, Sean beat them in the final and won the event. It was like, oh, hell. So being a man of my word, I immediately went over someone that I knew had an Ulti Stratos, which was like £45 at the time, bought it and gave it to him. And like on my Facebook and all that, like the cover photo was the picture from the regional. You can see he has it like tucked into his hat and he's absolutely beaming. But I had also topped. I came 3rd or 4th. It was 3rd or 4th because I got the deck box.
Yeah.
And I'd had a great time. So, of course, at the time, that deal favoured me significantly more because Ulti Dragoons was about £120. So, me topping was the same as if as him winning. So, I got him the Ulti Stratos, and I said I'd started paying off the last of the debt when he got the bet. Sorry, when he got me the Dragoons. About a year passes. And Sean gets me the Dragoons, and I'm like, oh hell, it's because it started to climb up by this point, and I decide, right, okay, I'm gonna buy because I had a little bit of extra cash at the time because I cashed out of a VA job, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna pay out and I'm gonna buy all the max rating Mermail stuff, because all the Dragoons they were starting to rise steadily, and so was Tace and so on, so I bought out everything I needed in a really good deal online. And immediately after that, they like doubled in price. They Dragoons especially just went, zoom, just skyrocketed for some reason. I was like, yeah, dancer. But of course, as I'd said, it was time for me to start getting the extra Stratoses for Sean. For anyone who knows what an Ulti Stratos is worth now, they went up significantly. So I think it's at the stage where it was like, I can't remember if I paid like 90 or 100 for the second one, but like it just kept going up and up. And if I'd ripped off the bandage at the time, because that's the thing, I'm a man of my word. And if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Even though I wish I didn't. Because either of us could have just played that off as, haha, funny joke. But nope. Mm-hmm. We committed to the bit, and we have both been suffering financially as a result.
I mean, an Ulti Stratos right now goes for like 105 and upwards, so that is a.
And I still, I think, anyway, I'm afraid to admit this on stream in case I'm actually incorrect, but I think I still need to get one more.
You only play it too. It's shite.
Shite card. Who needs it?
Exactly.
No, heroes in general are just insanely pricey. Like if you also like, especially max rarity. If you look at the price of one Dark Law at the moment, it's one of the most expensive ultis to.
Yeah, Tally was beating himself up about that recently because, back when like I first met Tally, he was still playing heroes as one of his favorite decks. Yeah. I know now they have kind of a staggered relationship. And he was constantly debating with himself, should I, shouldn't I, because it was like 60, 70 quid. And then that buyout happened. I think, was Team Sam not responsible for part of that buyout? And,
I think part of that was his
and they all just went poof and disappeared into the ether and rose up in value. And now it's like, well, if you want to get it now, you're going to have to break the bank.
cheapest ulti Stratos I can, Dark Claw I can find right now on Car Market in English is 350 euros right now.
350.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 240, bro.
240-ish is like a German copy right now, but like English
Got
goes
German
for
copy, the inferior card. Yeah. Actually,
I
no, I
mean-
tell a lie, because I have a bunch of German Cyber Dragon stuff. It's like Chimeratech Fustendrach. And stuff. Is that the correct pronunciation? I don't know.
Wait, I would need Chimera Tech. I think it's Finsterdrache.
Finsterdrache.
Yeah. If it's
Yeah,
yeah.
see the
Cyberdrache.
dark artwork of Dark Magician, the Arcana Magician. I've got a German one, and it's Dunkler Magier, and I just love the artwork. It just fits so well at being German.
Yeah, I like the Cyber Dragon cards in German all look pretty cool. Because I know I had Fortress Dragon core and regular.
Fortress Dragon. Okay, so it's Festungsdrache. There we go. There we go. I misheard before. Yeah, there we go.
That's it. I'm now fluent in.
So,
my
what
German.
deck are you thinking about going to play? See, when you go back to paper play, Nib, what deck are you going to be playing? Do you think?
So I hope, because I'm getting rid of a lot of cards right now, including my Zeus and stuff, I will be able to afford something a little bit more playable. Smile. I'm still keeping the luck decks going. I will go with that Emancipator most likely, because Emancipator or Salamangreat, those are the two options I have right now, and those are the most likely to be my on-paper play decks.
Yeah, it was the Yu-Gi-Oh day in Glasgow and stuff, like the remote duel one, and Emancipators had like a huge turnout. Like I don't understand why it was so big. I think it might be due to like Fafa playing an awful lot on stream, and people are just like, that looks so fun, it looks so good. But none of them topped. So that's the thing. But I love Emancipators. It's such a good deck.
It is. It is one of the most fun meta decks since I've returned to the to the game.
The best,
in my opinion,
the best meta deck that never topped an event. To be
Oh,
fair,
no,
that is the most shameful one. I hope. No, okay. This is gonna sound very controversial, but I hope they bring back Block Dragon to 1 at least when on papers are back, just to make Emancipator the best deck.
Well, that was my controversial theory from the discussion stream. Remember, I said that some of these cards that got hit, might get one grace format. Like, imagine if they were like, yes, we will reinstate Link Cross for 1 format, Block Dragon for 1 format. And it's like, and it's like, you have these absolutely berserk formats, and it's like, whoa, yeah, that's pretty mental. And then all the guys who are like, Maxi should stay banned, get to sit back in their chair and be like, yep, pretty bad, isn't it?
Maxi's pretty good.
Maxi pretty good. What?
But yeah, I think Block Dragon can come back to 1. You're basically getting the same amount of materials and stuff as same as in Engage. So I think
it was definitely a highlight from the discussion stream. It's like, there's no way to search Block Dragon. I'm like, you make Gallic Granite. It's like, if you make Gallic Granite, you've already lost. No, when you have Block Dragon, Gallic Granite is winning. that was one of the best bits from that stream.
Yeah.
was it?
No, Gallic Granite, searching Block Dragon and then Block Dragon going nuts is just.
Yeah. No, if it came back to 1, it would actually probably be enough to make Emancipators at least joint for best deck again. It's that newty of a card, and it is. Yeah, it is newty, very newty.
Like, it's by far the best rock card ever printed in the game, and that's coming from a guy named Nibiru. I mean, I'm a close second, but let's be real.
I don't know. Aztec Statue would like to know your location.
But yeah, no, like Block Dragon is an insane card, and it was so scary to look at when at Emancipator at 3 in the online play tournaments, and I couldn't imagine what would have happened if that was on paper Worlds and whatever happening in that time. That would have been insane.
I can tell you what would happen. A couple of tables would have been flipped. That's what would happen. that's the kind of card that is. But
we are no longer playing Yu-Gi-Oh! We are now playing Survive Fool Chair Assault.
Not gonna lie. I feel like that's the reason why the locals I went to prior to Corona, like shortly before that, had their tables bolted to the fucking ground. Like, I think that might be the reason. There's like, okay, we don't want tables.
Well, you might
split,
have
so let's
bolted
just make
tables, but in most Scottish game stores, there's still bars on the window. So,
Yeah. It's survival of the fittest when somebody starts picking up a table. That's
Aye.
it. You've
like
made-
your
you've made it.
average Scottish locals plays like the end of Halo Reach. Objective.
It's like Hunger Games.
Survive.
That's what it's like. There's somebody in the back with like a fake bow and arrow. That's what it's like, man. Did you really come at locals?
And Nib, what other things are you looking forward to about having your locals cherry popped?
Okay, so the most annoying thing in remote duels, right? And yes, I'm by the way wearing this still. The most annoying thing about remote duels, in my opinion, is when your opponent goes like, "What does this card do?" and you can't just say, "Read it," you know. I will do that in my first locals. If someone asks me what does it do, I just smack him in the face with it. Just like, read it, please.
That's by far been like the worst thing for remote duels for me. Is I'm not the best player, but I am certainly a good deal better than the remote duel streams have made me seem. Because the thing is, normally, just because of the way I have like my setup and so on, I can't actually very clearly see my opponent's screen. So they'll typically tell me, I have this board, and I'm like, I'll take your word for it. And I'm just trying to play with that in mind. And I always end up missing things or forgetting something is set on the field or constantly.
Like I think like the in-person play is gonna improve a lot of like stuff like that. For example, where it's like, okay, you have a better overview of the field. You can see your opponent has that board. You can read a card if you need to. You see how many cards they have engraved, how many cards they have in hand, all of that stuff. And most importantly, I've seen incidents of cheating in remote duels before in some certain locals. I will not name any names of locals or players, but we have had stuff happening before where it's like like you can literally see the guy reach out to his camera, point it aside, right, and then his extra deck is gone all of a sudden, and then something reappeared. Stuff like that, or the camera starts flickering, and all of a sudden the side deck is gone, and it's smaller when it reappears. Like stuff like that cannot happen anymore in real life play. Like stacking, cheating in any way, shape, or form is way harder. So I'm glad when that ends. I have not personally experienced that. I only spectated games where that happened. So I'm gonna be very happy about that as well. And being able to physically cut my opponent's deck will also be a nice feeling.
I'm gonna miss the Scottish cut.
I'm sitting thinking, see the people that have cheated all the way through in remote duels, do you think they're actually going to start games and like have the 5 best cards sat at the side and they'll just go swap it and I no thinking it's a real game?
I mean,
I think
that would be funny if they do it in real life as well. Like they set the cards and they go like, oh, no one can see this, right?
It's my prize cards. I'm playing Pokemon, I know. That's the kind of mentality I can see it happening.
Yeah. I really hope and it would be funny if they tried to cheat in real life, but like I'm glad when the cheaters of remote duels actually
Exposed.
stop with that shit, because it's very bad. And I'm a very sportsmanlike person. Like I really enjoy the interaction with my opponent. I want to have a good time, and I want them to have a good time. So that's why I also did the with the extravaganza story. That's why I also explain stuff, because I'm not a dick.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It doesn't mean you're a dick, but if you abuse that fact, then it makes you a little bit of a person. Smile.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that remote duels will die off? And, obviously a lot of remote duel locals and so on are naturally going to sort of go more to the wayside. But, there's a lot of people who have now started interacting with people out with their locals that they enjoy playing against, and probably have remote duel locals that they're a really big fan of. Are we going to see all those people completely move away from that now that they can return to full paper play? Or is it going to be a case of, you'll have your paper play, but we'll still see content creators and streamers and so on still remote dueling other people? Or do you think when there is so much paper playback and everything's back to normal, will it just go back to online duels or sort of played via Dueling Book or whichever simulator?
I personally will 100% continue with remote duels on my stream, especially. Like, I love remote duels in the sense of I have the ability to play my physical cards, but with someone who is like miles away. That's like my locals is in Sweden, for example, and I'm in Germany. Like, I play Swedish locals every week. Because my friend
You
who
play a
runs the locals
41 card deck, your 40 card main deck, and your 1 card passport to get over that border.
But yeah, no, like things like that. I have so many friends all around the world now, like from Italy,
Imagine getting a full
Scotland.
cavity search every time you want to go and play locals.
No.
Are you carrying any suspicious baggage, sir?
I'm looking for some tokens.
I'm maiding 3 copies of Mystic Mine. Frisk 'em.
No, but like I really am trying to keep them alive as soon as paper play goes back, and I'm happy that Andrew, the guy who does our locals, is also saying he will keep up the remote duel locals every Sunday after everything goes back to normal, because it gives us a platform to play. Like I said, I have friends all over the world now, from Italy, from Scotland, England, whatever, you name it, it's there. And it's, yeah, we can literally play official tournaments together like that. Otherwise, we would have needed to travel to a certain spot and do that. But like this gives us the chance to actually, compete together in a friendly manner and still not need to, I don't know, travel to Sweden, for example.
I think it's still going to be a big thing, because there's some people that are still going to be dead nervous about going out, and obviously the way people's mental health and stuff like that can affect them and want to be physically in front of people. So I think there will be definitely a long stint that remote duels and remote locals are going to be a thing, and if it's helping, like I know one locals, and they've got paper play on the Saturday, but they're going to do a remote duel one on a Tuesday or a Thursday, just because people have work, and when they're coming in from the work, they've not got anything to do like at 6 o'clock and stuff like that, and they'll just go remote duels and things like that, which is it's a good income for stores that have obviously lost during the pandemic. So I think remote duels is a brilliant thing. It's a brilliant idea. I was really skeptical at the start when they introduced it and said that this is what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem remote dueling ever had was just that it had a higher barrier to entry. You can do it with a phone and a tripod, but we've all seen enough scuffed setups to know that it can definitely be a bit fidgety. You've got someone like myself who's paid more money than they probably should have to have multiple cameras and bendable arms and so on, so I can make it as clean looking as possible. And then you go up against someone with an old Nokia mounted on their 42-inch wide block TV, scanned down. Because that's the thing, people have different resources. Some people might have the access, some people might not. And I think that was always the biggest problem, was barrier to entry. But for the people who have it now, it's exactly like you say, Darth. There's people with different schedules, there's people with different levels of comfort. And, having that ability to know that you might play, a locals in a different country, but it's something that works on your schedule and you like the people that are there. I think a lot of places will stop doing them, because a lot of remote duel locals, that are specific to an area, there'll probably be no point in them maintaining them. But other ones, like Andrews and so on, I would hope would have some longevity.
Yeah, I think a lot of stores have been very limited in what doing remote duels, because there isn't all that many that I can really think of off the top of my head that are well known. Like, I know the NCG one because I played in that a couple of times. Like, loads of people know about it, and that's everybody from everywhere, and they've really enjoyed it, and they've wanted to keep that up. And it's people that you never play with and stuff. But as you were saying, some of the setups are absolutely amazing. I was playing someday, I think it was the NCG locals, and he's got the camera, but it's the camera facing him, and on his on his fields here, so you can see him and you can see the field, and he's like this, and then he goes past him, And I went, what are you doing? And he went, oh, your screen's on the back. I'm using the TV for the screen. That's the setup he had. So he literally rotated fully and is looking behind him to see what I'm doing on the screen. So some of the setups are amazing. I love seeing the weird.
I enjoyed all the memes that came. I think it was Farfa had like a rate my setup sort of thing, and you had there was some funny shit ones on there.
I seen the one with the guy on the bike.
That's the one that my mind always defaults to.
The handlebars.
Because
I should have sent mine in because my first setup that I did was literally my phone, balanced on a floor plank that is also balanced on like a shelf I had hanging over my desk. So I had like a floor plank and like a heavy whatever. I think it was school supplies put on top of that on the side to weigh it down and just balance my phone on top. And it was super wonky. So I couldn't move at all. Like if I did, my phone would just drop.
Yeah, my remote duel setup. So when I was just remote dueling my friends for just general fun, so not obviously on stream and so on, I was using this camera here. But what I had was like those sort of laundry lines that you hang over like a heater. So it's like the metal hooks. So my table lifts up. So I would wedge it under the part of the table that lifts up, put it back down, and then took a hairband, put it over the top of this sort of towel drying arm thing, moved it down so I could fix the camera into a location, and then I had to move the camera from there, and then run it into my laptop, which was on like a stool beside it. It was not quite as jury rigged as yours, Nib, but a contender nonetheless. Because I always had to make it so that it was perfectly square.
I like the setup of one of my viewers. I remote dueled them in Pokemon TCG, and they he literally so first of all, he had to like put aside like his whole TV and whatever. He needed to shift that aside from his desk to make room, and had like a box of storage boxes like stacked up, balanced his phone over it, so it was. And the boxes were always in focus, so you couldn't really see what the fuck was on the mat, right? And the funny thing also is he didn't have a mat, so he used an old towel, as a mat. So he had a towel lying there and had like his storage boxes in focus the entire time. That was so great.
It's like, I chain judgment. I don't see judgment. Oh, just trust me, the camera's just not in focus. Oh, okay.
That was an experience to play against, not gonna lie.
Yeah, we all play with Tito's now. Best Tito ones.
Man, that's been the biggest pain in the ass with my remote duel setup now, because I've now got all this lovely looking fancy setup, which anytime I do any voice work I need to move it all out, move all the wires, unplug everything. Oh hell, I've created a lot of stress for myself. But when I'm doing the remote duels, one, I don't have natural lighting, so I use like the face light and so on that I have up here that I bought for everything, which puts too much glare on my sleeves, so I have to have it angled just so. And then the other problem I have is that I don't have like a big proper computer with flat monitors. I've got a very good laptop because I use it for my VA work, but it needs to be portable. So I spent, just shy of $2,000 on a very good, ROG Zephyrus laptop as opposed to, $2,000 on a very good computer. So with the laptop, that actually comes out quite a wee bit. So anytime I'm doing the remote duels, my desk has plenty of room, but the way I've like mounted all the cameras is I have to put like a wee box over on the side of the table and have the laptop sort of balanced delicately off of it. So even when I have acquired all the nice and convenient setup, there is still a good degree of jury rigging. And most of the lighting I use for my cards are these Call of Duty Perk Cola lamps because they don't emit any glare. My own lamps add too much glare, so I need to use the perk bottles.
How do you light your cards? Yeah, I use these Call of Duty cola bottles to light them up. It's
like you lose game one. Just quick revive theme, please. I don't
It's
know.
the
I'm
same
not gonna.
level when it's like a fucking flashlight mounted on your shoulder, like lighting them up like that.
Just a little like duct tape, like blue lights, like pay no attention to the towel.
That's great. That's great. I like it.
So, what are the things that both of you are not looking forward to about locals? In a way that's not like super like negative. But what are the things that? Okay, let me rephrase that. What are the things that you think you'll prefer to online engagement as opposed to being back at locals?
Meeting new people. And that sounds very bad, but let me explain. Meeting new people is great. Like I'm looking forward to meeting them, obviously, but I'm also like I'm gonna miss the people I play at locals right now. You know, because I don't have the same group of locals people in my actual locals that I will go to after the pandemic than I have right now, and I'm gonna miss the hell out of those guys. So that's gonna be a little bit sad. I see them every Sunday still, but like, yeah, it would be cool if we had like an actual locals where we can go to. But yeah, distance makes it hard.
That's a good thing about YCSs and stuff. He's can all meet up, and that's the first time that he's actually really do it. And that's something that I'm really excited to do because I have met a lot of people, like doing remote duels and stuff that I hadn't met and things like that. And I'm sitting going, I'm going to know a ton of people when I go to a YCS and stuff like that because I've never been to one. So that's what I said when me and my mates all said once this is all done, that's the first thing we're doing. We're booking the first one and stuff like that. I think we want to go to Milan is the main one we want to go to.
Have you done Euros before, Trader?
Nope.
No? I've done one Euros and that was, for the most part, really good. I had my invite as well, again. But I don't know if it will carry over. I assume it will, because there's a lot of people who, obviously, there's loads of people in Europe that would have their top and their invite for Euros, because it was meant to be in Poland.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of hope for a more exciting location.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that the Euros invite carries over.
But we want somewhere a wee bit more exotic.
A little bit more exotic. A little bit more fancy. Euros in Glasgow.
YCS Glasgow. That's it. But I had planned twice to go to YCS London because it was first time. Like I've not really been all that competitive, but I had been like the last 2 years prior to this, but shit just happened. I was going down to YCS London, and my wife ended up having our youngest son. So that fucked that one. And
I can imagine how that phone call went. You're gonna be a dad. Can I still go to YCS, please?
Got plane tickets, but no, that's it. He was due, so I missed that one. And then the year
the
after,
birth of
we
the
got married.
child.
No, I missed YCS.
It's a great YCS.
I'm gonna say, go back.
Who needs to be there for the firstborn? Let's go play cards.
Yeah, she wasn't amused when I said, "Can you hold it a couple of hours?" But it didn't go down well. But yeah, that's it.
Can you hold? Can you just like wait till Monday, please?
I might not get day 2. That's the best I can offer.
Yeah, like hold it to Monday. I'll probably not make day 2 anyway. I'll be back late Sunday. Worst case scenario.
But yeah, that's why I've not been at YCS. I tend to have shit on.
I've not actually done a YCS. I've done 3 nationals and Euros. But the YCS I really want to go to, again, I can't remember what I said on the last stream. I need to rewatch everything back. But I really want to go to one of the American ones, specifically when they do them in Las Vegas. I would really like to do a YCS Las Vegas, and I've often said I would love, if I did that, I would set aside, a few $100 dollary dues that I'd be like, this is my experience money. I'm willing to lose it. I am going to lose it. And it's like, as soon as you make any money, cool, I'm going to go turn this into whatever ulti-rare I need.
Just gamble like 100 and you get like 1,000 back with a lot of luck and you just straight up max rate anything you have. Oh, that's my Appaloosa money. Let's go straight into dollars.
But just think about it, you make your money back getting American prints and bringing them back over here.
You can imagine that you're sitting in this casino, your opponent's there, you know, they're wearing like a potato sack and they're all dirty and they're like, I've got too much riding on this, man. I need to win this game, otherwise I'm going to lose the house, I'm going to lose the car. Where do you stand to win? I saw this really nice ghost rare back at the booth. Priorities at the blackjack table. What was that?
I said, why are you at the Totty Farmer table?
Because they're the ones that are losing the money. You look for the people that don't look like they're on a winning streak.
Actually, now that the trader mentioned it, what do you guys prefer, NA or EU printing? If you know what they look like.
American or Europe printing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
always prefer EU print because I like the darker color, and I've seen American ones, and I've seen like I've got some Italian print ones that they just look a wee bit more sun bleached.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of that. I remember the anime, and it was always quite dark coloring, and I think that's what I prefer.
I would say for every type of printing except secret rare, I prefer European. But a lot of American print secrets stand out a lot more, especially older cards. So I have an American Harpy's Feather Duster secret rare, which I got when it came off the list. And the secret on that is just so nice and crisp. You know, I in general prefer old secrets when they were like, it really stood out more and it really popped and it really shined. But yeah, in general, a lot of the American ultra rares and so on, and supers and foils, it looks very matted. It looks as almost like there's a layer of wax over the card. I'm not the biggest fan of that.
It's just like because I'd done a trade the other day and it was like hobbycraft stuff.
Hobbycraft or Hobby League?
The Hobby League, like the Secret Realm, Royal Decree and stuff.
That's one thing I don't get. A lot of people love the Hobby League, but it's literally just normal, you know, the normal rarity, but it's laminated.
No,
Yeah,
not always. A lot of them have a lot of them have like a really shiny prismatic foiling on them. So yeah. When Monster Reborn came off the list a few years ago, I
had one.
I again had a Hobby League Monster Reborn, and I was using it in locals, which I technically shouldn't have been. But that they were really nice. Some of them looked really nice, but again, they did. I typically like a lot of my deck to like match up. So, for instance, I love the alt artworks for Cyber Dragon, and I love how great it looked in the embossed gold. But as I was playing like the OG art and the alternate art in their embossed gold form in my extra deck, every time I was looking at them, I just steadily found myself going more and more off them. And I do like the embossed gold, but I don't like having the mixing. You know, if my full deck was embossed gold, or a lot more of like the main deck was, you know, enough so that there was a bit more of a balance, I suppose is what I'm getting at.
Like if you play Dragon Maid, for example, with the reprints, they have like a lot of stuff in this gold rarity, so it makes more sense to play it like that instead of original.
Yeah, apart from the spells, I think the spell and traps were all just like the original prints, and they didn't get the gold stuff. I understand exactly what you're saying. I would prefer it to be an entire gold rare deck, just like BAs. Like they come in full gold and stuff, but not a nice gold. But I'm just saying it's one of the ones I'd rather the entire deck be gold instead of just the monsters.
Funny story. I actually got sick of that rarity very fast. I always thought like it's a very beautiful thing, and now that I have it, and like it's not.
I love how like poetically you said that. Embossed gold. It's truly a beautiful thing, a serenity within life, a distilled purity that nothing else can quite capture. I like my embossed trident too before it got banned.
No, but like I don't know, like new rarity, the new gold rarity is one thing that I enjoyed at first, but the more you look at it, the more you stare at it, The uglier it gets.
Right,
In my
it's so gimmicky. That's the thing. And the way I opened it, I thought that's actually quite nice. And that it generally, as you said, it just gets more uglier because I don't know if the shine goes a wee bit, and
See,
it
that's what I think.
it's-
I do think they fade a little bit because
Mhm.
that might be it.
when I first got the gold, because I absolutely love Maximum Gold as a set, the reprints and the cards in it, it was so much fun to open. I think I actually opened a display's worth. I opened a good amount. I really, really enjoyed that set. But yeah, I think it does seem to fade a little bit because I remember that was the case with the Cyber Dragons, especially the Infinity artwork and the alternate, is I really liked them, but I was wondering as well because it could be the sleeves as well. Ultimately, I stopped playing a lot of the gold rares because in my Monkey W Dragoon package, I played Gold, Red Eyes, and Dark Magician. But like I said, I over lockdown there was about a 6 or 7 month period, maybe more than that, where I just didn't touch or even think about Yu-Gi-Oh. I opened up Maximum Gold like at the start of lockdown, and that was it. So I left a lot of those cards. Like I didn't sleeve them and put them in my binder and my deck boxes and so on. They were sort of stored loose under this table, so they just warped a bit over time. And I flattened most of them, but it got to the point where like the Dragoon package where I could like spread my full deck out and I'd be like, there's the Dark Magician, there's the Red Eyes, and I only got to that stage because I was drawing them into my fucking hand every shitting time. It's a meme on my channel right now about how bloody often Dueling Book is like, hello friend, draw Dragoon package. It's every fucking time, bro, I draw it. It is so frustrating. And the gold rare one, I was playing with my mate Ian, and we played like 6 or 7 matches, and one game, every single match went to game 3. Every single one. Only one game I didn't have a piece of the Dragoon package in my opening hand. Fuck!
I'm just sitting wondering why your Dylan book's Indian. That's what that accent sounded to me. It sounded pure Indian.
Okay. We'll go with that then.
I didn't even know where the accent should be from, boy, sure.
It was just for the dramatization purposes. It was non-specific. Yeah. It was just a voice out with my own.
Yeah, but as I was saying, I really don't like the gold rares anymore. They stand out like a sore thumb, and if it's just like as you were saying, the Dragoon engine, if it's just 2 cards in it, I don't see the point in it. I'd rather just have normal holos.
Ultimately, I like the gold. It's just a case that when you're playing so again, to reference my Cyber Dragons, I have that deck max rarity. And whereas I no longer go after max rarity staples because it got too expensive to keep up with, in the case of Cybers, I did pick up a huge amount of the staples in max rarity. So I have a lot of it as ulti and secret throughout the full deck. So when I play the golds beside it, they really stick out, which is why I'm saying, if you're playing quite a lot of them, then it's fine. But yeah, I think, yeah, they're not the best on their own, but I am looking forward to El Dorado.
Yeah.
I have to say the set itself was absolutely amazing.
Oh, sensational.
And, like I say, the gold rare is not that problematic. Like I just feel like it's getting worse over time when you look at it a lot. That's all I can say. Like I don't dislike it actively. I don't say it's the worst rarity ever.
Can we agree on this much? It's a lot better than the OG. The OG gold.
That I can agree with, but I like the OG secret golds. I don't know why, but I have they had so much shine on them. I just I went like, ooh, shiny. That's all.
Yeah.
I always thought they had like more of a brassy tone, especially like round the edges and stuff. But the glittery bits, 100% I agree with you. It definitely has a nice sparkle to it.
As long as it's not platinum rare.
Oh, don't you dare! Don't you dare! Wait, which platinum rare? Because there's
the one
2...
from the Noble Knights thing.
Okay, no, I love that rarity. I will fight you in this. I actually love that rarity.
Well, here on the Misplay podcast, we would like to further the message that everyone is entitled to their opinion, choice, and perspective, no matter how fucking wrong it may be.
No, I actually dislike Hobby League more, so there you go.
Yeah. See, see that locals that we were talking about earlier on, Jamie.
Yeah.
I witnessed. Well, I say witnessed. The boy came out straight after, and I was talking to him like about trades and stuff. And he says, "Oh, I've just got an ultimate rare foolish burial, like normal foolish burial." And I went, "What?" And he went, "I've just got it. It's brilliant." And it was the platinum rare, and I went, "You're being scammed." And he went to go get the boy, and the boys obviously just went, "He's a fucking fanny," and he ran up the stair and just left. But that's the kind of thing you'll expect at some locals.
Okay, that is something different. That's just different. There's no words for that.
I'm trying to think if I know any other scam stories like that. I mean, a lot of them, like a lot of people try to scam me.
Allegedly, we should say allegedly.
Alleged, yes. No accusations.
No.
Other than like the stuff that happened to me, I can't really think. There was one kid actually when Sky Strikers first came out. This kid, like everyone was opening boxes of DASA all day, and like only a couple of people got engaged. It was mostly Widow Anchors getting pulled. And this kid came in, bought a couple of packs, and pulled the engage. And everyone descended on this poor kid. And the kid was there with the mum. And they were just getting absolutely swarmed by what I'll coin as the usual suspects. And myself and another guy went up to them and said, "Look, whatever deck your kid wants to build, that card is going to fund the entire thing. Go online, look at the price. You'll get the cash, and you can then get whatever you're needing. It's that easy." It's one thing that I know it sounds very self-righteous, but I really hate when people like prey on the unknowing.
I really hate that as well. That's why earlier when you said like people actually when people told you that the barrage, for example, is worth a lot, I was like, yeah, good, because like I really hate when people try to scam people out of money or just in general try to get an advantage out of people just because they don't know stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just rude and, in my opinion, on a human level, just wrong.
Yeah, okay, 100%.
But to be fair, when we consider that a good divide of the Yu-Gi-Oh demographic play Mystic Mine, there's going to be a lot of scumbags in this community.
Yeah,
that's a huge statement, Nick.
Oh, I kid. I already said on the last stream I recognize that at least one copy is a necessary evil, but only one. We don't need as many. Anyway, there's my one per episode anti-Mystic Mine propaganda. I'm gonna make every episode will slip in like one little thing.
Yeah.
Dude. Make the podcast German and call it Mystic 9, and then you're fine, dude.
That's how we're going to title, please.
Mystic 9.
That's it. Jamie's just noting that done.
But yeah, so when we go back to locals, I personally, how do I put this? I think I'll probably still try and do like the remote duels. I do prefer playing in person. However, the thing I've said this before, I am way more into Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu than I am Yu-Gi-Oh. However, if I wanted to stream something, I wouldn't stream my D&D game because that's been something that's been going for years. But the way I do Cthulhu, I'd stream that, and the only thing stopping me is equipment because I need multiple cameras and I need to be able to mic everyone up, and oh hell, it's a whole can of worms. I'll probably do it at some point, but I reckon I will probably play a balance. I reckon it'll probably be maybe not quite 50-50, maybe 2/3 in person, 1/3 online. Because, again, I do like this almost controlled environment. Because I was about to say something that I realized wasn't quite correct. But as horrific as I am at remote duels, I've made an absolute ass of myself on stream playing the remote duels. it is like we've been saying. I really enjoy meeting a lot of the new folk, playing a lot of new folk. And the other really big thing is within a local scene, and this varies person to person, place to place. I'd say the one downside of locals is you're going to start seeing a lot of the same decks routinely. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but the way that you actually start building your deck for your opponent. And I think I mentioned in the last podcast about how when I started playing Cyber Dragons a lot and finally started to become a decent enough player, about 2 or 3 people at my locals, which was only 10 to 15 people, started siding 3 system down just for me. So that's one thing to fear about locals, is people building against you and sharking you.
Yeah.
Because I always do this thing where it's like, oh, play as if we don't know what each other's playing, because there's no benefit in practicing. Like, oh, I know my opponent's playing, I know such and such is playing Cyber Dragons. I won the die roll. I almost always go first, but I'll make them go first. Back when that used to be more relevant anyway. So that kind of sharking, and it is that sharking. You're using information you technically shouldn't have, and yeah, you might cheat a win. Well, not quite cheat, but you might cheese a win out of it. But it's very unsportsmanly, and it always leaves a sour taste in my mouth whenever people do that. And that's one of the things I'm not the biggest fan of at locals, because you will get a few people that know what you're playing, and they'll win the die roll and change what they do just to pull one over on you and so on. The side decking thing I don't mind so much, but I'm not the big fan of sharking.
That's something I was going to say. See, because of remote duels, and if the locals still continue, like when the YCSs and stuff like that start, do you think people will start going into just random, random tournaments just to see what other people are playing, just so they can chuck information at what people are playing?
Well, I mean, it's a thing people casually do. In Scotland, it is actually a bit of an issue at regionals, because our regionals are typically 60 to 100 people, and people will be like, oh, who were you playing against? Oh, I was playing against such and such. And the Glasgow lot will typically make up about 3/4 of that tournament. So you'll say that name, and most of the people in the room know who that is, and they then know what deck they're playing. That is a thing that happens. And at that level, it is kind of different. I don't encourage it, but I say it's kind of different in the sense that, well, actually, in a tournament, it's not illegal to know what you're. It kind of is, and it kind of isn't. So it's a moral grey area, and I don't want to get too much caught up in it. The point is, I don't like Yu-Gi-Oh! Sharking. I don't like people changing their strategy because they have found out or know what I am playing, and it doesn't benefit that person either, because it's not what you would do in a proper tournament if you didn't have that information.
Yeah,
that's true.
Fair enough.
In general, just abusing some stuff like that is, like I say, I'm a very sportsmanlike person, so I know what my people in locals play. For example, I know one that he only has Crusadia as a deck, and I know if I just let him go first, he struggles because Crusadia going first. Yeah, well.
So you are the sharking person?
No, I'm not doing that. I know they do that, and I'm still going first because I want them to have a normal experience. Yeah,
because I'm like that with my mates all the time as well, where it's like, I know what you're playing, but I'll play as if I don't. And you know that you might be about to get bodied by it. But it's just the game. If you were playing that some random person playing the carbon copy of that deck in a regional, you wouldn't have that information, so you want to practice the matches that would occur naturally.
Yep.
Exactly.
But the other thing about the return to locals, not quite to the extent as you, Darth, but my bag I think typically comes out. I've got 2 very full binders, and I'll carry 4 or 5 deck boxes and 2 mats on me typically, so it's fairly heavy. But again, in smaller locals, you're always going to get the person, not necessarily like Darth, but they'll come in with their duffel bag, their jacket, their rucksack. They will build and fortify their location, and that's it. Oh, you think I'm going to you next round? No, you'll come here. And then it's like you get into it's almost like all those memes you get of kids, like brothers and sisters, and the things you say. It's the exact same thing at like a locals, where it's like, oh, but you moved last round, or as I, I had to move last round, you moved this time, and you get into the same cotton of it all, where it's, people are justifying who has to move and so on.
Yeah. That's like me. I have my binders on each side of me, so I've got like a binder made armchair, so that way people don't have. I have to move. They have to move to me. That's it.
So you are the problem, Darth.
Yeah, just made bag underneath my legs now, recliner. Yeah, I've got it set.
I'm gonna just use me being fat as an excuse. I'm gonna just say, it's too narrow in here. It's
okay.
hard
So
to
I'm
move
gonna
for
let
me.
you in on a little secret about when you return to locals. Odds are, Nib, you're not gonna be the only fat person.
You might even be the skinny one.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't. As a certified fat guy, I can assure you, weight will not get you anywhere in your average locals.
Right, fair enough.
I would just get to a point and you'll all be like testing your BMI and just go, who's got the highest? They can't move. It'll be one of the ones.
It's like, do you know, it's in like Aladdin where like the monkey's holding the sword. It's like, he's got a sword, and it's like the captain comes out. You fool, we all have swords. It's like the same thing. It's like, I can't move, I'm fat. It's like, oh yeah, we can't move. You fool, we're all fat.
That's why it's so narrow in here.
I say all of this for humor. Don't worry, this is all satirical. Even if it is vaguely true. all in the sense, all for good fun. All for good fun.
Yeah.
But personally, it depends on like the locals as well for like the whole comfort thing. But yeah, the thing I've really enjoyed about online play is seeing a lot of different decks. And the thing with the locals, depending on the size, the locals I go to are large enough. And most of the people have a few decks. So I've never found myself getting bored of my locals, but there are definitely smaller ones out there. But there's a lot more to it as well than just going to locals. And, we'll not speak about this in like the superficial way, which is, just the card game perspective. But there's so much to be said for like meeting up with your mates as well. And, if it's what you're into, going for a couple drinks afterwards. And, it's one of the things that a lot of the folks around here do is we'd finish up at whatever locals we're at and often go to a bar. And it would always be that thing of like when you would first join whatever your hunting party was for going to the bar, and you'd be sitting in this busy restaurant bar, whatever it is, and they would start rolling out the mat, and they're like, what are you doing? And it's like this whole other world. It's everyone's looking at you, but eventually you stop caring. What the very first deck profile I did on Tally's channel was filmed in a bar when it was completely full.
I remember watching that. All you heard was one of the customers shouting, "I ordered fucking fish and chips." You in the back.
That deck list though, like I really appreciated Tally giving me that kind of love on the deck. But oh my gosh, did people rip the piss out of me for that for so long? Because in the video, like I had gone X1 at the locals, and like this was a 25 person locals, so decent sized locals to be honest. But I'd gone X1, and on the video, Tally's like, "Here's Jamie with his 3-in-1 Mermail profile." It's like, bro, you would have been much better just not saying the score. And like all my mates that were coming up to me, "Oh, Jamie, we really love that 3-1 list." Oh, it was so bad. But yeah, all the best Yu-Gi-Oh matches happen over a pint and 3 sides for a tenner.
Yeah, which got one night I had a boys' night in my house, like with all my pals, and we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and some of them were playing Pokemon. And one of my mates, Sean, as I spoke about previously, they played the game that, see, each time you got a prize card in Pokemon, you had to take a shot of whiskey, like a good shot. And by the end of game 2, he was absolutely pissed. It was brilliant. That's the kind of games you get over here. So maybe that's something we can incorporate.
You'll often see my chat abusing Quench to try and get me drunk, or at least when I'm drinking. But I'm pretty bottomless when it comes to booze. So a mate of mine that Darth, you'll know, Martin. You know, I was up at his once, and I hadn't been up there for drinks before, and I turned up with a bottle of whiskey, and I thought we'd be playing cards and stuff, but you know, it was a bit more chill night. We were just doing whatever. And I said, hey, you know, where can I get a glass? And he points it out to me, and I go and I put like one big ice cube in the bottom of this pint glass, and then fill the pint glass with Jack Daniels, and I sit down, and they're like, bloody hell, how long's that gonna do you? I'm like, 20 minutes? And like, that's a verifiable story. There were like 7 people there who I actively turned to, because that's like one of the, I brag about alcoholism. I've got people that can verify my problem.
Yeah. That's it. We can verify our addictions. That's it.
That's, again, this is one thing I've always said when it comes to things like GOAT format and so on. GOAT format decks and so on are so much more fun though when you're having like a drink or two. I just, you know, Monkey Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Caveman Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just so fun. You know, you can have a couple drinks and you don't need to big brain think about it, and you can make like stupid little mistakes that aren't going to literally cost you the entire match. And like doing the progression series with Tally and playing that bit of GOAT stuff recently has completely rekindled my love for Caveman Yu-Gi-Oh! So I really need to get a couple of GOAT format decks together so that, you know, in the same situation, go to locals finishes up, go to a bar, just playing GOAT. It's so fun. Not necessarily like just GOAT, but
we had like a very bad idea one day. It was like we didn't do it yet, but one day probably. So imagine you just get shit faced, right? Completely drunk, 3 a.m. No one can think or sit straight, and then you try to play Yu-Gi-Oh, like modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but without cards. Meaning you just think of the shit. You know, you have you have to keep in mind the board state or whatever, all of that in your head while being drunk at 3 a.m.
I'd be great at that, because that's practically what I do during remote duels. Is I just take people's word for it. And with most people's setup, that's all you ever can do. Activate Solemn Judgment. Sorry, mate, your camera's still focused on the Amazon Prime logo. Take my word for it.
Already practiced for it with the remote tools, but imagine doing that, like legit in like a group of friends, just getting shit faced and doing that. I think that could be ending very hilariously. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't think you could do it on remote duels because you would get some cheaters. That's no Solemn Judgment. That's a drawn to Solemn Judgment. That's the kind of players you'll get.
The thing is, though, you're gonna miss a lot of like the initialization process. Of going to your first locals and so on, you know, because I went in completely blind to the competitive world with all the understanding and so on. I made like a lot of bugger ups along the way. Shit, I forgot my point. Oh no! What was it? It's completely gone out of my head. Oh no! Hang on. It'll come to me. Someone talk about something else. My point will come back to me.
See, when you go to your first locals, are you going to do a vlog for your YouTube? Do you think?
That is an interesting question, because I've never thought about it. But my YouTube is very inactive, but I have a lot of things that I want to do on it. And maybe if I'm allowed to film at my locals, I would be down to, you know, actually uploading matches and whatever, or like a little vlog of the locals itself. That would be kind of funny to do, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's a good platform to actually like start like a series, especially because it's your first locals, and you'll just see the development in your playing style and just how you're going to be acting and stuff. So it could be quite a good thing to actually watch.
With your skill level, Nibiru, you could call it Road to Absolutely Fucking Nothing. Watch me routinely get pounded at locals week in, week out. Watch me draw all my level... watch me draw exclusively my Maroon Cess spells and trap and pass.
Hey. I only run 5 Maroon Cess spell and traps on my deck, okay? Yeah. So... if I get all 5, that is a talent, okay?
Same odds as
Draw your bricks, bro. Draw your bricks.
I can't wait for you to record your first match at locals. And it's like you sit down, you're so excited, you've got the camera fixed, you ask your opponent, hey, do you mind if I film? And you're like, oh yeah, you're Nibiru, yeah, that'd be great. And you draw your hand, it's 3 wolf.
that is literally the experience I can't wait to have, because
3
this
wolf
time I
and
can
2 of the
actually complain
archer.
about it in real life.
Oh. That's the thing. See, when you're at locals or tournaments and stuff, the worst thing is drawing absolutely dead, and you're hyped up for the game. That's what you wanted to do this weekend, and absolute shit. I remember I done one. I was playing Dark Magician, and I went Pot of Desires, banished all 3 Dark Magicians, and drew into a Navigation and an Eternal Soul. I went that. I have to just that's the style of games that you'll end up picking up.
I just saw in chat. If my first match is me getting Dark Ruler no more, I will promise right now I will instantly drop out of the locals. I don't care. If I get Dark Ruler no in my first match, I will instantly drop the locals.
It's you sit down at your first locals, your opponent sits across from you, and you think it's the edgy kid because he's got like a big hoodie and all these things over, and it's like, begin round 1, and I just reveal myself. Hello, Nibiru. I've travelled a very long way to Dark Ruler no more you once again.
I can see you doing that, Jamie. Left arm offerings, everything just to find a Dark Ruler no more. No monsters, just Dark Ruler no more.
And that's it. Like there is no win condition. I Dark Ruler no more you. I shake your hand, then I fuck off back to Scotland.
It's just like an Exodia deck where you just it's just like an Exodia deck where you just draw the entire deck just to find the Dark Ruler and then slap another table.
I remember one time when I was at Euros, this was day 2, so most of us were gone by this point, and we were playing this event. Just a side event. You had to have like a minimum of 8 people for this event, and there was a huge amount of us there, so we actually made up 8 people for the event. And I went up against one person who is notorious and infamously not even just a slow player, maliciously slow player. Like they're like the opponent that you fucking dread. And I went up against this person, and it was not the most fun match. And I had 5 cards sided in my deck. And I literally, game 3, I always do like a full pile shuffle, but this game I was like, because I knew there was seconds left. Shuffle it, put it in. And I remember, because it was the exact same fucking statistical odds as drawing Exodia, I do like the 5-sided cards, and I could do absolutely fucking nothing. And I just remember being so livid at this person. It was like it's very difficult nowadays to make me salty or tilted over a game. Like sometimes I'll be a bit disheartened or a bit like, bollocks, I fucked up. But back then it was like, I will fucking annihilate. Subtlety is no longer an option.
I think
That's one thing I'm really not looking forward to is slow players. That's the one thing I can't stand. There's one that's notorious in my locals, and I swear to God, he draws 1 card. Right, so he's just opening his hand, and he'll draw a card, and then he'll go and tell you about the lure of the card. I'm sitting going, gotta just draw your 5th fucking card. We've not even played.
He
We've not even
implied
started.
subtly.
We're 30 minutes into the round, and he's still going on about fucking Ibley. Do you know what I mean? That's really not what I'm looking forward to.
I suppose actually this is exactly a vital thing we haven't discussed about like the fears of returning to paper play, is because Yu-Gi-Oh players, that is time on the round, and you're still in game 1, and you're still. Before I got my 3 regional tops, every single regional bar 1 where I just got absolutely shat on, I always came very close. Every regional I went to, I was always a couple places shy of top again, bar 1. And I remember once I was playing Cyber Orcust, and I was EXO into like round 5 or 6, doing absolutely insane. And the worst like luck happened where I was playing against someone and used Nachtar, and then went into some part of like the Orcus some part of the combo, and I was machine locked, and I tried to go into something I couldn't do, and it completely threw the match for me. It was an easy win if I just did things in sequence. So I lost the game. And it was my first loss of the day. I was like, shit, I was so tilted by it. I was so annoyed because I had the game. It was an easy win, but it was just a howling misplay. where I resolved Nacht too early or whatever it was. So I went into my next round, and it was that sort of case of win this round I still top, lose and I don't. And I remember being about 20 seconds away from turn, and my opponent's looking really downtrodden, and they passed to me, and I drew something, and I had like core and grave, so I had no way of winning, no way of getting the damage, so they were going to win the match. But there was like, by this point there was only like 10, 12 seconds, whatever, nothing left, and I could have easily just gone like core effect, summon cyber, just taken that little amount of time, and I would have won the match in time that way. And I remember being so tilted and just being like, no, don't be that guy. And I wasn't, fortunately. I passed it back to them, and they looked at me, and because it doesn't happen. It was my certified good guy action, because 99% of the time, when you're in that sort of high pressure situation, a lot of people are going to do what they need to win. And I just remember like giving what that guy could probably tell to be like the most defeated GG. Because I've tried to make a point of like being someone that people enjoy playing against. When I was at Euros, I would sit down every match and be like, hey, I'm here for a good time. If you fuck up a play, I don't mind if you take it back, and so on. And like, I'm going up against people wearing like full team shirts, and they're like, huh? But the thing is, when you say something like that, people typically get a lot more relaxed and more easygoing. If you sit down and you say, look, if you mess up a play, I don't mind if you take it back. It's not going to apply to everyone, but it typically takes the edge off of a match, and at a lot of competitive events that can be the case. It can feel really shitty to be like up against someone who, like, it might be someone and it's their first top, and you're like, it's like the Thanos meme. It's like, what did it cost? Everything. I'm sorry, little one. Like, as you demolish your friend and just make sure they don't top, and you've already topped that season, let alone in general. That's one of actually, you know what? That's one of the hardest things about locals is going up against a kid, like a newer player, but they're in the locals. So, Darth, how do you handle the situation where you were paired against, an absolute new player, or even someone who's maybe like 15 years old or something like that? How do you handle that?
Go fucking ham.
Destroy the child.
Mate, it's fucking character building. He's not going to learn if you
character building. Welcome to the Crucible, bitch.
Exactly.
I'm on his side on that. I'm sorry, but like, I actually agree with that. Like, yeah. I wouldn't like shit on them and go like, you're shit and shit like that. But like, just dunk on them like.
Just go fertilizer,
exactly.
Like you look over your shoulder. Just remember, kid, your deck's.
The thing I would do is actually I would still play normally, but like, at least give some pointers afterwards if I know, okay, they're not familiar with the game. I can say, okay, you could have done that maybe this is this interaction and this is how it works. You can do that, blah blah blah. Just for next time, better like next time. Yeah. That's the general thing.
Yeah, you never want it to be in a way where like the whoever it is, whether it's a newer player who's maybe still like 18 or 20, whatever it is, versus like a 15-year-old or something. You never want to beat someone in a way where they're like, the people here are arseholes and I'm never coming back.
Aye.
Yeah, 100%.
But like you're at the same time, you're going to get people who are very twisted and salty all the time, and it's just like, I don't know how to interact with you. I'm going to feel like an asshole in either situation.
Yeah, see, like sometimes if it's a new player and stuff, like I'm known for, if I'll have a wee fun game with them and like let them think they're winning, and I'll just 2-0 them, and then I'll go through the deck, like help them build it, and I'll give them some cards from my binder and all that to make it better for the next matches and stuff. Because Ibdi needed to start somewhere, but I'll not generally just give them around unless it's something like stupid, like as wee friendly or whatever. It's one of those ones.
Like for me, it was very important that I never I always had to fight for a match. It's even when I was newer to the game again, because to be fair, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh for years and then take like a year off and then come back, it's a different game already. Like it's insane how much changed from like when I started when I finished playing Yu-Gi-Oh, Pendulum era has just rolled in, and I came back with links and everything and the pendulum support over the years and whatever. It was insane how much changed. So I was basically a new player to everything. I only
Oh,
basics to get. Oh, did I lag?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might have
Oh,
been
okay,
on my end,
yeah. That has been happening for like 2-3 times now, but
yeah, I think
with
it's
that-
on. I think it's on my end tonight. I think that there's maintenance in my area or something like that.
I don't know. Maybe it's also the Discord, but yeah. What was the last thing I said?
Hey, you were talking
like
about
to
like
absolutely
something like-
annihilate children at locals in a way that leaves, no
Well-
joy in their heart.
Exactly. I wanna rip the heart out of their body and just keep it in a jar as a trophy. That's what I want.
It's
No,
like, how so a kid is asked to describe their first locals experience, and they just point at Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom. Karima, Karima.
No, but, like, all right, so yeah, when I went back from like that hiatus I had and came back to playing the game and trying to be competitive, I got like the best thing that happened to me was no one had any mercy. I loved it because you don't improve if everyone is just like, yeah, you're doing good, buddy, you're doing good. You know, it doesn't help you at all. Like
Yeah.
if you get like shit on the entire time, you have to improve and you work harder and you get their help as well. It's just
It's one of those fiddly things when you're speaking to people as well, which is obviously this is a game about creative deck building and so on. But then like you'll have like that mate, and we all have them, who want to build their deck that's for them and it's fun. And that's that's all well and good. I personally prefer more fun. I like to get the best out of them, but I prefer playing more fun strategies over the more relevant ones. But you'll get that same sort of friend who's like, oh, I prefer the more fun stuff. But every time they lose, you feel like you've ended a friendship with them. And they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to improve. And it's like, well, try this card instead of that. There are cards that do that job but better. Same sort of thing we were talking about last time. And they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. And you're like, okay, well. And it's like the history keeps repeating itself. Because that was the thing for me. I was horrific at Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time. It took me maybe not so much now, because in that, when you're saying about like taking a break from the game, over the first lockdown, I barely even thought about Yu-Gi-Oh over the entire first period. I didn't do remote duels. I didn't really keep up to Yu-Gi-Oh discussions much with my mates. Just very casually. So Emancipator format and all that just whizzed by me, and a bunch of cards came out and a bunch of stuff, and I was just completely oblivious to it because I just didn't follow it at all. So I fell very far out of the loop. But there's a lot of people who want to be better, but they want to play their fun deck. But then, when they lose, it's like, well, there's a lot of, it's always one of those things where, for me personally, I typically play more rogue-ish strategies, good rogue strategies. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm playing Batteryman or something like that.
Rikas?
Pardon?
Rikas?
Yeah, stuff like Rika's. You'll play these fun decks, and you need to have that sort of knowledge. A lot of the time, you're going to get bodied. And it's not always about lack of skill or lack of deck building skill a lot of the time. Sometimes there are just decks that are weaker than other decks. That's a straight up fact. But when you win with those decks, it's all the more satisfying. The thing that I always found very frustrating when I was improving and learning was when I would misplay. And I'm back to the point now where I misplay all the time, but I was at a stage where I barely ever misplayed, and normally I wasn't the only reason I would lose a match, but it was typically a very big reason. Just missing howlers of a play or something like that. But, it's one of those things. If you're getting into the game, you've got to accept, whether you like it or not, there's always going to be a deck that's better than another deck, or a deck that deals with a deck a certain way. People enjoy different elements of the game, and it's, if you're gonna play more fun strategies, you need to accept that. It's not always to do with skill level, but sometimes you can improve a strategy to win more. And yes, a lot of the gateway is often cash. You know, you might be playing Forbidden Chalice, whereas if you were playing, if you were playing Droplets instead of Chalice, you would have won that last match, sort of thing. It comes up, it comes up a lot, obviously, and I think that's very difficult for a lot of people. And I equally know a lot of folk who spend a huge amount of money acquiring. Again, if they're watching, they know who they are, and I say this with all the best love. But there are people who spend a startling amount of money to have all the staples, to have all the best cards, but
and the highest rarities
don't always learn how to use them properly, or will lose the game right away against someone who's more practiced in that matchup, and then just assume it's not good and move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who will build like what's meant to be like the best deck, lose, and they go, it's shit, and they move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think like the years that I've been playing, I feel like I was a better player playing rogue strategies like Dark Magician and Altergeist, stuff like that, than I'm playing meta decks, because they're so direct, easy to pilot nowadays that I don't. I'm not analysing the match more than I'm just doing what I'm doing, because I don't really care what you're gonna do. It's one of those ones, and I think it can give a better player a better player with a rogue deck.
Yeah,
is a lot better than a shit
There's a
player
lot of
with
things
with
that
a good
affect
deck.
it. Some people might have more money and can afford to be more creative and so on. When I got into the game, I had significantly less funds than I do now, but I played like I had way more.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be good when I first got into the game. And like I said, the first set that came out after I started was Maximum Crisis. So I tried to build True King Dinos, and getting 3 diagrams was horrifically difficult. And back then I didn't understand a huge amount about deck building. I didn't know how to identify what were the leading decks and so on in a format properly. So I built True King Dinos and spent like the next few months until the ban list dropped doing everything in my power to accumulate it, and eventually that came into True King Yang Zing Dinos, which ended up being like the best version of that build. And then the ban list came out, put Lithosagum, whatever it's called, the Earth True King.
The Earth one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They banned him. And that list was they banned Danglong, and I think they also either limited or banned Misk. It was apocalyptic, and it was it was more based on what was coming. True King Dinos hadn't been the best deck by that point, but they were going to be in the demise of Draco and Zoo. And that list was supernova nuclear, and I remember thinking then, I didn't like that. A lot of my cards that were worth money aren't worth as much now. And it left, I was like, damn, that wasn't good. And I came like one position under topping my first Nationals. I've still never gone top cut at a Nationals, as in just getting the mat, not like the actual proper top cut, like top 128. I came like 129th or whatever it was at my first Nats with True King Dinos. But the next, and I told the thing about this, I told the Spiral story, didn't I? The master plan thing.
You thought it was shit.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know the story, I think.
Yeah, you said the last
stream the last stream where I built spirals.
Yeah. And
I went into a locals with one of the most competitive guys and said how I'd cut master plan because I thought it was a brick.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, now, okay, yeah, that was
that was the next meta deck I built, and that was a perfect example of I had everything. I had the Firewall Dragons, I had the full Spiral Core. Double Helix was like 45 quid on release. It was expensive as hell, and I had everything. However, I didn't ever learn how to do the proper combos. My ending board was typically like Spiral Sleeper, and I think a co-linked Firewall, because I didn't realize that Firewall was like an access to the U-Link board or anything like that. I just didn't know. I didn't learn the combos, and I would later learn them. And got a lot better at developing combos and so on, like I did with Mermail. But I shifted most of my, like, Spirals got hit in an emergency ban list, putting drones and thing to 1, quick fix to 1. After that, I immediately shifted to core super quick, and decided at that point I never really wanted to play anything that would skirt the ban list, because I never knew because I tend to be very quick to move on from things. I enjoy something and then I move on. So with Yu-Gi-Oh, I was like, I don't want to put myself in a position where I commit to something, and then just get bored and can't be bothered anymore. Now, fortunately, that's not really ended up being the case. I definitely have dry spells with the game, but I never wanted to be in a position where I'd like accumulate loads of expensive stuff that I'd then either have to trade before it went away or get banned if I was too late. So all my mates started calling me the ban list dodger because I got quite good at predicting what cards were going to get hit, and I would almost always be able to shift away cards and trade into like cards that wouldn't get hit. I think the only exception to that rule was Link Cross, because I didn't think they would hit anything that released during lockdown until afterwards.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I knew it was a bannable card.
For me, I also go with like strategies that, you know, I thought they will not get hit by ban lists, but funny enough, the last ban list is the only ban list since I've returned to the game that didn't hit my deck.
Excuse me, Dryden would like to know your location.
Dude, I was so pissed at the last ban list in one regard with like killing my other deck which is Sue, but I was so happy at the same time that I didn't get hit for the first time in months. Like it was a relief.
You
and
play
at the same
Lightsworn
time,
and Marinset. Actually, I realized what I was saying there. Lightsworn has been the most indirectly banned deck, same as like with ABCs of all time. The Gem Knight engine, Saber Invoker, Snow. Well, Snow and Grass was not indirect. Well, no, actually, Snow was banned because of Thunder Dragons. Same with Eclipse Wyvern. Grass was banned because of Lightsworn Triple Omega loops.
You have stuff. Okay, Link Cross obviously helps a lot of decks, so Link Cross is definitely a ban. Union Carry as well, by the way, just saying.
Yeah, a lot of the Link cards and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, Chance pointing out Destrudo, yeah.
Destrudo definitely.
Glow Up Bulb.
Indirect hit. Glow Up Bulb as well. Horrible for us as well that it got hit. There's a lot more stuff on the ban list.
Because Lightsworn are that type of deck that can utilize so many amazing strategies, but have just suffered so much. I mean, in a bubble, ABCs have had it worse because their cards have been a lot more direct. Like the Brilliant Fusion engine was so good for ABCs. Grass, really good for ABCs. Union Carrier, I mean, I guess it was okay for ABCs.
It's okay.
Just okay. It was just okay card.
But this is the thing. I think Lightsworns have been hit a lot more than what ABC have been, so we are the ones that are really damaged.
Yeah, Lightsworn have taken way more indirect hits, but I would say that those same hits have almost always applied to ABC as well. Because that was another thing, was Lightsworn, ABC, zombies, and all that malarkey.
Yeah.
But the ABC hits, a lot of the things that have gotten banned were far more vital to ABC as in a bubble. The hits were worse to ABC than like pure ABC than they were to pure Lightsworn, if that makes sense.
Pure Lightsworn is not a thing since 2008. I'm sorry, but
you get what I mean. Don't be a smart ass with me, you big German rock.
I just beg Konami to make a new support for Lightsworn with actual support that helps the main deck strategy more, because the extra deck is insanely good. You have Curious, you have Minerva. Those cards are amazingly good. But I want something more for the main deck so I can play a more pure version. So I'm not forced to run every single staple in the game to make my deck viable and still break on Wolf.
All they need is to give Michael a retrain so that he's got a quick effect banish removal.
Like,
the thing about it is, see the Injector card thing that won and it had to go up against Lightsworns and stuff. That's
the fact that Lightsworn and Mermail and all that lost to Inzektor was mind-boggling.
And Photon as well, by the way.
That's in my head. There's somebody in Konami that went, right, I've made this Lightsworn card, made this Mermail card. These are going to win. Just let them have a wee poll, think what they're doing. And when he's looked at it, said Inzektor, he's went, what the fuck? What am I meant to do with this? What am I meant to do with this? So that's the way my head has went with that. So there is light sworn support. but we
Yeah,
just can't get it
that's
until they
definitely
make
someone
things
sitting in an office like, oh fuck, I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Every
I
single
thought that was way
archetype,
more of a done deal.
every single archetype in that poll deserved a support wave, and I'm hoping that Konami takes this poll and whatever, and just makes a bit of support for every single archetype on that.
Well,
Because
did,
there was
did
stuff
Dino
like
Mist not
Hazy
come
Flame and
second?
Sylvan. Like, they're not playable at all. Like, look at Hazy Flame, for example. Maybe in the progression series, if Gage actually does it one day, but like,
Hazy Flame needs a fucking new deck. That's the thing. They don't.
yeah,
need
like
support
no,
cards.
but like Sylvan as well. Sylvan was such a viable strategy back in the day, but it's so outdated at this point. Obviously,
Mhm.
you have Emancipator, which incorporates the excavates very very well. But I want Sylvan to be like at least a little bit playable. Or I want most decks to be a little bit playable.
I took my headphones off for a couple of seconds and we're talking about Sylvans.
Yes, because I said like all of the decks that were in the poll need support or deserve support. If you look at Hazy Flame and Sylvan, for example, both of them were in there. And you look at Sylvan, which was actually a very good deck back in the day.
Mhm.
Was there not a big problem though on that list where apparently the bots were like flooding the Twitter polls or something like that?
There was the Facebook group of what was it? It was Valkyria. The Valkyria Facebook group bought a fuck ton of bots and
Yeah.
bought the poll. Or like not all of them, but like I think 3 people or 3 people did that, and that was the problem.
I see.
Big brain
That's
point.
why that poll was redone, and they changed the system from Twitter to something else because you could just pay Twitter bots to win whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because one person can buy 2,000 votes for like very cheap.
I think it was it worked out like £3 or something to get 2,000
Yeah.
votes.
So, and if you're serious about your archetype, obviously, I mean, I would be serious about my favorite archetype as well. If I had the chance to say, like, I pick one, I would obviously go with Lightsworn. But like, I wouldn't bot for it.
The thing is, Konami have kind of shown that they do look at like the runner-up decks and so on. The same with like with the runner-up decks. With like the starter decks and structure decks, they've given like the second and third places the printings as well. Because ultimately those polls do serve to show, yes, those decks might need support, but it's like which decks do people want most? Because if you take a deck like Sylvan and so on, and Insectors, most of them, I know this was the big thing at the time, a lot of those decks need a lot more than one card. The card that most people cite as being like the fixer for most decks is a double helix effect. Something where it's just special summon your best piece from deck, which searches into your other thing and so on. Pardon?
Card is broken. You can special from deck or grave, I think it was, and you can search as well. Like double helix would fix any deck. Not gonna lie.
That's the thing. So it's like most decks that would need this need a double helix, but yeah, obviously I've said I'm an advocate for more decks results in a more interesting format. I like when there's more things running around. I like when there's more viable strategies. Like the way they took like Thunder Dragon and then just gave it a bunch of cards and made it like the meta, I always thought was I'd love to see more old decks or just old cards be absolutely brought to the heavens in the same vein that Thunder Dragons were, without a walking mistake.
The reason why I returned to Yu-Gi is actually Thunder Dragons indirectly. I went to visit an old school friend, and I went up to her flat with like where she lives with her boyfriend and whatever, and I go in there and just see Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the shelf, and I was like, "Yo, dude, do you play Yu-Gi-Oh?" And her boyfriend goes like, "Yeah, do you wanna play around or what?" And I was like, "Okay, sure, like let's see what you got."
So what you're telling us is you learned how to play card games to steal his girlfriend.
What? No.
I'm kidding.
I do not even talk to them anymore. Long story. That's
lost
a
then.
completely different. Well, that's a completely different story that should not be discussed on stream.
Yeah.
So Nibiru is the reason why the tables are screwed down.
Yeah, sure. No, but like it's like so he handed me like a playmat and everything and just gave me a deck. I was like, okay, let me look at this real quick. I got like Thunder Dragons. I'm like, wait a second. Isn't that one card like from what was it? Metal Raider or whatever when it came out, like all the way back. Wasn't it like one card? Read all these effects and I go like, what the fuck is this shit? I love the hell out of Thunder Dragons. It was my first experience back into like TOS format and everything in 2019. And I looked at this and was like, this looks amazing. The artwork is great, like way better than I remembered. And overall the effects are so insane, you know. Back then I was the best play I did was like you overlay for 2 exes and pass and you're scary all of a sudden, you know, like actually Dino Rabbit and shit like that. I'm used to that, you know. Normal summon, rescue rabbit, go to normal monsters, Dolka pass, and you're just actually the king, you know. And I read all of that and you were like, what the hell is this? Colossus like floodgates your ass.
Again, at least you had a basic understanding of the format. I came from, I can summon Red Nova Dragon in 5 turns sometimes, to literal zoo format, full power. One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. I mean, I only had like my 3 Lightsworn structure decks left from that time, you know. So I had to work with what I got. So first thing I did was in real life try to make any Lightsworn deck work, which is literally just, you know, my main win con in 2019 was summoning JD clearing the board, which is not good in 2019.
Oh, I'll be honest with you, JD's not the best card anymore.
I love it, but it's not.
Yeah,
good.
we all say JD's not the best card until we've only got 2,500 life points left and it resolves.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Like it's one of those cards where like it's difficult to resolve, but the games where it can't resolve, you're not going to see it because it's never going to hit the field in the first place. But most of the time, if Judgment Dragon hits the field, then everything that would have been a problem for him in the first place is gone.
True though. True.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
actually,
I did enjoy those decks. Sorry.
I'm actually like I wanna make Judgment Dragon a main win con again. So I'm actually trying to, instead of going full combo, I wanna try to get more of a control lights one going on in the future. I don't know how well that will go. Probably not that good.
Why not just make it a going second build?
No. It's gonna be control with Dogmatica and shit. No, it's gonna be.
I want to resolve Judgment Dragon, but I'm going to do
it
in the most complicated way possible. Oh, hell.
Like, for everyone who doesn't know, Lightsworn actually has traps and everything, you know?
Yeah,
they have a counter trap as well.
Lightsworn Barrier, Lightsworn Judgment, and...
they have... what was it called?
One of them's like mill for attacks, and if you mill a Lightsworn, it negates it or something like that.
So no, you have the...
If you mill it, you can banish it to negate. Wait, what is it? I can't remember.
Okay, so there was the counter trap, which is tribute the Lightsworn, negate and destroy. So which was actually pretty decent. Then you have the illusion, which summons back a Lightsworn from grave, mill every in the end phase every turn. And you have the barrier, which when you get attacked, you can negate the attack and mill 2. So everything is actually not that bad if you look at it in a slower format. Obviously, right now it's horrible. You just Harpy's Feather Duster and you cry.
Yeah.
But in a slower format, that was actually all usable. And I kind of want to go back to that monkey style, or like that caveman Yu-Gi-Oh! A bit. Force my opponent into it.
Those are the things I'm looking forward to. You know, it's locals are always just a little bit more. I don't want to quite say relaxed because again it depends, but some of the things I'm really looking forward to about getting back to play is traveling to a regional, making a wee day out of it. You know, it's you're meeting up afterwards, you're seeing a few mates. You know, you're in a different town, you check out one of their gimmicky restaurants, traveling to a YCS, Euros, whatever it is. I really enjoy the traveling side of Yu-Gi-Oh! Even if it's town to town. It's just an excuse for a good day out. with like-minded folk a lot of the time. I mean, it can go from being a great day to a shite day if you've been absolutely shafted and you've been Dark Ruler no more in your first match and you just scoop. But I'm looking forward to like the traveling side of things, and yeah, it'll be good. Like the first regionals and so on are gonna feel very fun.
I think the first regionals is just going to feel so cramped. Like, I think because everybody's got to be in that mindset that they want to go, yeah, and it'll be so huge and it'll be uncomfortable to begin with, I think. And then everybody will just get back into the rhythm, mate, and just really start to get back into the game.
I feel like sorry.
I just want to say, I feel like everything will feel a little cramped at the beginning because you're not used to it anymore. Because you're sitting at home, you're remote dueling. All the social distancing has, made us accustomed to distance. And once that is all gone, and you sit cramped on a table where the playmates are basically next to each other, right next to each other, it's just gonna feel a little bit more cramped, I guess, in general. Not only if a lot of attendance is there, but just normal attendance would make you feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. But I think once we return to normal life, we can.
I think the unspecified world virus presents an interesting situation where normally a lot of people can get bored of the game, stop playing it, or doing other things. However, because of the state of the world, a lot more people have taken an interest from a nostalgia point of view. There's going to be a lot of new players, not necessarily a lot more competitive players, but you're going to have a huge amount of new casual players and so on that will appear at locals and so on. Whereas normally that would be balanced by a lot of people dropping off and no longer playing. But because nothing's been happening, except people have been getting interested, but there's not been anything happening for other people to move away from the game. Yeah, I think that's also going to really add to the bulking of it. But there's going to be a lot of new players who get in. I just really hope that we're not seeing this, because I see it all the time on like Twitter and TikTok and all that. This really toxic community of like new people who aren't interested in the game, but they're interested in the buying frenzy for it and are buying out all the product and so on. I don't think it's as big a problem in Scotland. It definitely is. I have first-hand experience with like a lot of the buyout problems and scalpers and so on. And you're not really going to see them in a local store, except maybe people coming in for trades, but they're not going to like know that trading environment. But scalpers are something definitely more so in America, where it's a huge problem at the moment. But like on the trading groups and so on, you see a lot of people now buying sealed inventory and stock and trying to shift it within months. And a lot of the product does go up very quickly because of the buyouts. I mean, look at what's happened with like Rage of Ra and so on. But again, I don't think in the UK and Europe getting a hold of stock is going to be as bad, but in America it definitely looks like it's going to be a pain in the ass.
That's true.
Like Pokemon now is unreal to try and get product. Like there's stores that are going, I literally don't have anything. Like I cannot get a product at all. So we don't tend to really have that at all in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like being honest, I don't think I've ever experienced it.
Oh, trust me, it was beginning to happen. It's again through the first-hand experience that a lot of people will know what I mean when I say that. I had a lot of first-hand experience dealing with a lot of that stuff, and it was very much the case of like, all Ghosts from the Past getting bought out, all Digimon getting bought out, all Pokemon. It was everything that had an iota of collectability to it.
That's fair.
But at the end of the day, once all is said and done, it's gonna be a whole new experience, to put a nice little spin on it. But at the end of the day, it's gonna just feel good to see your pals again, sit at a table, and ultimately play in the most comfortable and convenient way. Face to face, having the mat out, having the cards. No internet connections, no fiddling with cameras, no making sure the lighting isn't causing glare, no technical issues. The handful of games I've played face to face over the past few months when things have eased up, that amount of comfort sitting at a table and just playing a game it's just unmatched. and I'm excited to get back into that as a regular thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so too. Yeah, I had like a few matches with that said friend over the months where I returned to the game, and I can safely say that it's very nice to have your opponent right in front of you. Having a good time is a different feeling in that case, you know. Because like I don't know, it's like more personal. And Yu-Gi-Oh for me, the social aspect is one of the biggest process in Yu-Gi-Oh. And if you're not social in the game, it's kind of weird for me to play against you. But I understand if people are more to themselves, especially like super competitive players. Some of them to themselves.
Yeah,
And
the social like aspect to it is such a major thing. Like, doesn't matter if you're competitive, rogue, whatever. Just that interaction and people just enjoying the game it's unmatched. Like, really, and you can't really get that through like a camera hanging down for a wobbly bit of wood and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, I think we have spoken quite well and at a good length, and this probably brings us to a nice point to end things off. So, to all who have been enjoying the stream, I hope you have had a blast. A huge thank you to all of you for checking out episode 2 of the Misplay podcast. Please make sure to follow Darth and Nibiru on Twitch for Nibiru respectively, and YouTube for Darth. You can catch the video on YouTube as well on Darth's channel when he uploads it. A quench to quench. But yes, as always, I have been one of your hosts for the evening, the BigFatCelestial, and whether you've been watching past, present, or future, I thank you. Hosts, any closing remarks?
I'm just really happy we get to do this, and I really enjoy this, and hope you guys do it the same. And thank you for watching. See you next time.
Yeah, I love the fact that you'll just listen to me talk absolute nonsense. It's a highlight in my week.
Yes, we all greatly appreciate your support. And remember, tell all your friends to follow if they haven't already. Join the Discord to keep up with everything. And until next time, farewell.